Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
It is game day! We can't wait. Monday Night Football, Browns, Broncos. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Traditionally, the Browns don't do well in Denver. Have you noticed?
No. I told Mike that last night. We were talking about it in the Cavs locker room.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Actually, some of their worst defeats ever
Yeah.
have happened in the Mile High City.
Some nightmares come out of that.
It's like the air gets so thin they can't think right. Crazy things happen.
Well, that would make sense if the Browns did well at other places, but
Well, they don't do well west of the Mississippi, particularly Kevin Stefanski.
But they won one. I think Greg Williams was the interim coach.
They
and
have won there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they went for he had some nutty fourth down call or something that they went for and got it or something. I just remember.
Hey,
Was that the
crazy.
Dearness Johnson game?
Nah, that was
home.
That was
Dearness
home.
was home,
Okay.
I think.
I'm gonna tell you this. I did on Ultimate Browns. I did a show, bad Browns teams that were least fun to watch.
That's interesting.
And the 2018 Browns showed up on that list. So I went back and watched the whole season, whatever.
Yep.
And I was just like, man, you know what? They had a bunch of Baker Mayfield montages and different things like that.
That's where Baker shaved 3 times, I think, was Denver.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
That was.
I think that was Denver. I think.
No, that was the next year with Freddie Kitchens.
what year was the Brian Hoyer year? Was that 2014?
He was there 2013 as well. Because Brian Hoyer
Hey
was.
Siri, when did Baker shave 3 times?
Yeah, that was.
Because the Brian Hoyer year, remember they were 7-5.
Seattle, maybe? I think it was.
Remember they
West
beat
Coast
the Bengals and they were 7-5.
7-4, 7-5.
Well, that was the year. No, that was the year they drafted Johnny Manziel. Wasn't that 14? I can't remember now.
They
But
drafted
gee, I'm
Manziel
supposed to be
in-
relying
That
on
sounds
you for
right.
this.
That sounds right.
Mike Pettin was the head coach.
Right,
They
and
went
then
down.
they forced him to start Johnny.
Yeah,
Because Hoyer's play started tailing off.
and Josh Gordon came back.
Right.
He came back, played in the Atlanta Falcons game.
Yep.
And from there, they just basically forced him to play
right.
Manziel.
They were
I'm getting PTSD. Just
they were 7-5. I remember going on the air when they got 7-5, and I banged the table and I was like, "The Browns are going to the playoffs."
It was a prime
They
time.
didn't win a game the rest of the
7-9.
That works a lot better in your ear.
It keeps falling out. I got to get a new earpiece.
Oh,
So.
the tube falls out of the actual
Yeah,
piece.
yeah.
It was 3.
And when it does, there's no bringing it back.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a
Struggle with
MacGyver jacket too.
It is?
That's a MacGyver joint.
Wow.
Like MacGyver used to pull up with toothpaste.
I just realized it's 30 degrees on this side of the studio. Can we get a 2-shot of G and I?
it. Yeah.
And it's 80 degrees on that side of the studio.
I mean, I brought a sweatshirt, but I take it off for the show.
Man, I'm not.
I left the house like
deal
this.
well with
I'm
that.
a lineman.
Yeah,
I can go with T-shirt in the cold.
Cut the sleeves.
So when
Let's go, baby. Pink skin everywhere.
So when you're done with this, how quickly are you moving back to Florida?
I
It's
haven't
coming.
decided that it's going to be Florida. It's going to be somewhere warm.
yeah.
Oh, you are moving somewhere warm when you.
Yeah. 6
listen.
months of the year.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep
listen.
my place here because
He-
I love Ohio in the summer. This is home.
He's definitely out of here,
But,
bro.
yeah, you probably won't find him
December
with a
through
postcard.
March.
Yeah.
Probably even longer than
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Because April, we can have snowstorms here.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Hey man,
Although the last few years there hasn't been at least on the west side there hasn't been that much snow. I know.
Yeah, we get a lot.
How much snow did you get? Because I know in Ashtabula County they got like 2 feet of snow.
We got a dusting. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got nothing.
This
on
was
the
a
west
weird
side.
lake effect. It was right by the shoreline.
Yeah.
Upper elevations, east of the city.
Yeah.
And we didn't get which is rare. Normally, if there's lake effect, we get pounded. We didn't get much at all. The ground's covered, but
But
barely.
you saw those videos, I'm sure, from Ashtabula, certainly up in Buffalo.
A buddy of
was
mine that works
crazy.
here, Herbie.
Yeah.
You guys know Herbie.
Yeah.
3 feet.
Oh.
He sent me a picture
Where
of
does
his
he
truck.
live?
His truck, Madison. His truck was completely buried.
Oh,
Couldn't even see it.
God.
We
the
got
wind
nothing.
and the blowing.
Just
and,
move.
Yeah, I know, man.
my mother
you only
called-
have to move like 30 miles.
My mother calls me. She's like, "I heard you got a ton of snow." I'm looking out the window. I'm like, "There's no snow."
Yeah.
My dad did the
Welcome
same
to Lake
thing.
Effect.
Hey McNuggets, I like rich people problems. He says, just move. They've been saying that in the projects for 35 years.
They're saying that to Ryan Day right now. Just move.
Peace.
Get out. We're going to talk about the Ohio State loss to Michigan. A lot of things around that. Of course, we're going to dive into the Browns, but we're going to start with the Cavs, but not until Mikey does read the Cavs. Wow.
Woo. Hell of a game. We'll dive into
Saved
it
the
after
weekend.
a
Yes,
quick
it did.
word from FanDuel. You can tackle all of the NFL and NBA action on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, so when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Speaking of those Cavs, they had lost 2 in a row to the Atlanta Hawks. They were down double digits entering the fourth quarter against the Boston Celtics last night. And then Donovan Mitchell did what Donovan Mitchell is paid to do. 20 points in the fourth quarter, didn't miss a shot. An incredible superhuman-esque performance from Spida. Jason, you were there. Bo, I know you guys were watching on TV along with G and J. Just an incredible performance from an incredible player when the Cavs needed it at their very most.
Yeah, that's what it made me think of LeBron James. Like, that's what LeBron James used to do. He used to say, we're down by 12, just give me the ball. I don't care where I am. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to make it. I'm going to play defense. I'm going to penetrate when I need to. And the only blemish on that game was the fact that they shot 17 free throws in the final 34 seconds, and it took almost 30 minutes. That otherwise
But it was really smart.
What's that?
It was smart.
Oh, listen, that's how you got to play it.
I know it's just boring.
I thought both teams did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Exactly what they did. Even, let me tell you, if the lane violation wasn't called, that
He's
game
getting
might
that ball,
turn out
yeah.
differently. He had the ball.
Yeah.
Well, and
it was really close. I'm surprised they didn't give us more and better looks at that.
that last foul, too, by the Cavs was risky because if he would have gone up with it immediately,
Yes.
it could have been an and
If
one
he
or
would have
three
got
shots.
up in the air,
yeah.
then it would
But
have been.
still, but I like the strategy. They never gave them a chance, really, to.
No, they didn't.
get
But
that
I mean,
shot.
other than that, like that to me, that's a blemish on the game because I can't sit 30 minutes to watch 34 seconds of basketball. I don't have that kind of patience for anything. But all that being said, my God, those guys one after another stood up there and drained one massive free throw after the on both sides. But to Donovan Mitchell, that's what we always say. He's not tier one. That's what tier one guys can do. And so obviously he needs to do that more. We need to see more of that. But that's who he's become. He's become a late fourth quarter wrecking ball. And that's how you break into that tier one level of superstars. That was a massive win. I know we're going to talk about that next. But Donovan Mitchell was at his absolute best when they absolutely needed it. And it was fun to watch.
The thing I like about where he is right now is when he first got here, and we've talked about this on the show at length, and I mentioned it to him again last night. When he first got here, it was always just give it to Donovan and get out of the way. And it just felt like that was the entire plan. And I hated that. I hated that it was, and we talked about it, and he said, I have to win every game I play, and I'm going to do everything in my power to win every game that I play. That's just the way that it is. And then he sort of evolved from that. And we talked about it at the end of last year. And he said he sort of came around, and he realized he needs Darius in those moments. He needs Darius with the ball in his hands to get some of those shots at times. It feels to me like this team is now at that sweet spot where Donovan doesn't have to do it, but he's there when they need him.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's a right spot to be in. And last night, and I asked him last night, when did it feel to you like it was time to go? And he said it was the end of the third quarter. Mike, did he say it was the JT shot? I'm sorry, not. Yeah, JT.
Yeah, Tatum. After Tatum made a tough one.
After Tatum made a tough one, and he kind of got it going a little bit, and Donovan felt like, all right, I got to go. It's time to go.
Yeah.
And then in the fourth quarter, he goes 6-6, scores 20 points, and just takes over the game. And that's what closers do. But it felt like it was within the moment of the game, and it wasn't just give it to Donovan and get out of his way, which is the way that it was in the past. And it just feels like they're in a sweet spot now of they have this closer. He can win you a game. He can go get you a game when he's feeling it, when it's rolling. But there's also other options that it doesn't have to be that guy every night. That was a big win. And I'm the one who poo-poos a lot of November and December and say, guys, it's only November, it's only December. We're not going to be talking about this in April. This was a big win because they lost 2 to Atlanta. Boston plays similar to Atlanta. Mike and I were talking about this. Atlanta's good. like they're good.
They're a tough match for us.
They're long and athletic,
Yeah.
and so's Boston. They were without Jalen last night, but you had to win that game because if you want home court, you can't go down 0-2 in the series
Right.
and then expect to still have a shot at the 1 seed. Had they lost last night, they fall out of first place in the East after that incredible start that they have. That was a big win.
It
was
would
an
have been
important
4
win.
losses in 6 games.
Yeah.
Obviously, to
Yeah.
2 to Boston.
It was an important win.
2 to Atlanta. I agree.
Man, you know what? I'll tell you what. This was a huge win. When I got on Twitter and I was talking about it, about this level of win, people looked at me like, come on, G. Bush. Here you go again, being emotional. And I said, look, man, go tell your first grader or the kid that you dropped off at school for the first time, hey, you know what? When you're 35, you won't remember this, right? Go tell your 8th grader, hey, you know what? I know you got your first boyfriend, but you won't remember this in 35 years.
Your heart won't always feel like
you
this.
won't always feel like this. Hey, we in the moment right now. We trying to figure this thing out. The Cavs are trying to develop some championship type habits. They need to figure out where they need to be aggressive, just like Jason so eloquently pointed out. It's about the speeds, the tempos, and where do you step in as Donovan Mitchell to say, okay, this is one of those games where I need to be aggressive and my team don't got it, so let me go ahead and put the Superman cape on. He had 5 points at halftime. He comes back out, and this game is a 12, 13-point game late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. And he sensed what he needed to do. He comes back in the game, and he gets it going. Every time that they came down, Pritchard, by the way, this dude is turning into one of my most hated players.
Me too.
This guy, this scrappiness and shot-making ability of this guy against the Cavs is turning into like something that does not need to happen. We'll get into that later.
And smack talk,
Yeah,
too.
just being out. It's the way he trying to bully, just turning around. Who lets you get your money off of the paint like that? I don't like him, but I love to have him on my team if he was there. But Donovan Mitchell, boy, look, when you talk about your superstars, and Donovan Mitchell is right there. I be wanting to call him a superstar sometimes, like right there, like, let me put you in that category. But you keep doing this against the Celtics and doing it when it matters, they're going to put you in that situation. And I've said it before. If Donovan Mitchell can consistently win games like this and the Cavs have the best record, he can be in contention for the MVP. Spider Mitchell, if you ever wanted to get on that level, if you ever wanted to be right there, you got an opportunity this year because you got the record, you got the team, y'all play the right way, people like you guys, and on top of it, you got a team that can compete with the Celtics, man. So I'm looking forward to it. Spider Mitchell, that was as exciting a basketball game as I remember watching, where it's shot for shot coming back from behind. Boy, I love that.
After 3 quarters, it felt like this was a continued trend of how they've been playing. Mm-hmm. They got off to actually a good start last night for a minute, and then it was terrible for 3 quarters, and it felt like, okay, well, they played like crap against Atlanta. They didn't play particularly well against Boston the first time, and here Boston is without some key players, and you still can't get it done. So I think we were all feeling frustrated heading into that fourth quarter. Jason made the point that, in the past when it's been just give Donovan Mitchell the ball and get out of the way, it's not really good for the team, and I agree. And I think the difference now is he doesn't have to do it. They wanted him to do it in that situation, right? They needed him there because other guys weren't having a great day. Evan Mobley had one of his worst shooting days that he's had all season. And Garland was fine. I mean, he was shooting fine, but Jarrett Allen didn't take a lot of shots. Nobody else was really stepping up in the moment, and so they needed him there, and you could tell the other guys wanted to get him the ball. It wasn't that they were all standing around doing nothing. There was good ball movement, and the ball kept finding Mitchell because he was hot. They've done that with other guys in other games. There was that game, I can't remember who was against a couple of weeks ago, where Ty Jerome, they just kept feeding him the ball because he was hot, and that was it. And so it doesn't feel like it feels like Donovan Mitchell is having these moments within the system and within the offense. Yeah. And his relationship with the coach, you saw that one thing there, just when he had his arm around the coach. I feel like something simple like that is meaningful. Maybe I'm being silly, but I don't know. I just like that he had his arm around the coach. It shows like a level of respect.
It's good body language.
Are you getting emotional here, Boo? That wasn't even a stat. That was not an analytic stat.
Yeah.
Is this a people move?
I think this is a people. I don't know what it is.
LeBron put his arm around Blatt.
and then he moved it up to his neck.
Yeah, well.
And then he choked him out.
Choked him out.
But there is a deep level
There's a
of respect.
relationship,
There is
right?
a deep level
Yeah,
of
I
respect
mean,
between those guys.
I thought that the touch pass from Okoro on the dunk, I think it made it 115,
It was to
111.
Mobley at the very end.
Right. It was a quick down
Yeah.
in the blocks, touch pass, and Okoro. It wasn't like he went LeBron v. Pistons, where he just literally told everybody, go take a nap.
Right.
I've got the next 25 points. There was still involvement from other guys.
Right.
Now, the crossover at the top of the key, sidestep three, like he did most of it himself. But Jason, I love what you said about how early in his time here he felt like, I've got to do it every night. It's just like Jose Ramirez, who feels like every night he's got to carry the load. At some point, there is a straw that breaks that camel's back. It's exhausting to do that every night. The way you can become a tier 1 superstar, because he was last night. He's not living in that category, but he's knocking on the door. He might be kicking the door down. But when you do that against the defending world champions, and you erase a 12-point lead in the time span that he did it and the way he did it, it makes you think like, well, he's able to do that when they need him to because he's got the energy to do it. You can't do it every night.
Right, sure.
It's exhausting.
I'll tell you what, Jay, as impressive as this has been, there was something that I never thought I would see. We'll talk about it later on the show. But it ain't had nothing to do with no offense. But Darius Garland playing defense. Boy, where'd you get to that?
He had a stop on Tatum that I had to rub my eyes.
Okay.
We're going to get to that next. I want to just say one thing on Donovan, and Jason pick it up. But being there last night, Kenny talked about it. Donovan talked about it afterwards. In about the middle of the third quarter, when they went down by, I think it was 14 points, kind of felt the energy being sapped out of it. It felt like all the good vibes.
Was it 14? I thought the biggest deficit was 12. I could be wrong.
Whatever it was.
I thought
it
it was 12. Either way.
You could feel, and it almost felt in the moment being there, like all the good karma they had built up over that 17-1 start was just slowly dripping out, and it was about to start taking on water. And Donovan said afterwards, and Jason asked him the question, like, when did you know you had to take over? And he said after Tatum made that shot. From that moment on, when Donovan kind of snapped into it, to the end of the game, that was a playoff-like atmosphere inside Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse last night. I don't know if you could feel it on TV. I'm telling you, being there,
it came through.
It was electric. And I only say that because in these matchups against Boston, and granted, there was no White, no Brown yesterday. They had Porzingis back. That changed it. I want to see these two teams healthy. But getting 2 games against Boston, one in Boston, one in Cleveland now, that both kind of came down to the wire like this, in that intensive of an atmosphere, is only going to benefit this team down the stretch, because you can't replicate and manufacture those kind of environments, those kind of pressure situations, especially if they're running away in the Eastern Conference and they're playing all these games in March where they're fighting for the 1 seed, but most of the games have no impact on playoff seeding. They're going to be locked into a top 2 seed.
Yeah.
I thought that was a big factor last night, and the fact Donovan came through with 20 points, 6 of 6 from the field. They made all their free throws down the stretch.
That was huge, Mike.
Just an incredible, resilient performance from a team that, despite being 17-3, I thought desperately needed a win last night.
I agree. It was desperation. It felt like it watching it.
One other thing on the Donovan conversation, he's not going to win the MVP because he's actually, if you look at his numbers, he's averaging the fewest points, his lowest rebounds, and his fewest assists since he got to Cleveland. And yet this is the best team that he's on. Well, that to me is telling. He's playing the fewest minutes. He's scoring less. All of his numbers are, like all of the traditional numbers, are down. And this team is far and away the best.
Well, the definition of MVP is most valuable player.
Yeah, he's not going to win it.
And he won't win it. I agree with you. He won't, depending on what happens.
Sometimes less is more.
He's made the team better. He's become more valuable to the team.
And that's sort of the point I was trying to make in the beginning, was he doesn't have to do it every night.
No.
But it's there when you need it. And last night they needed him, and he was there for them. But if you look at his numbers, and it's a good thing that I know that he felt like he was playing too many minutes the last couple of years. His minutes are down. Some of the production is down, but some of the other guys now.
Do we know from an efficiency standpoint, are the numbers down because the minutes are down?
Well, that's part of it. You're just on the
So
floor.
I mean, I'm willing to overlook that.
He's shooting the
his
three.
efficiency.
He's shooting like 40% from three. I just looked at it. I don't remember now, but I think he's right around 40%.
It's his career best in 3-point percentage.
Yeah, that's definitely up.
It's his lowest field goal by 3%. It's not like it's a giant
Right.
drop off.
Right.
Despite the fact he's taking the fewest shots.
I mean, I would tell you what, man. Look, we talk about stats, and we in basketball, we love to say people got empty stats. We love that. We be like,
Sure.
you're playing on a bad team, jacking up a lot of bad shots, and you're like, okay, well, you know, you're not going to be in terms of running for first team All NBA or MVP. But for me, you want to look at it and say, okay, they got a new coach, they got a new system. He signed here in Cleveland. He's gotten and believed in Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and some of those other guys. He's obviously the leader. And when you can put points like that on the board in the main crunch time against the Celtics, that puts you in a different space. Because
most importantly, G, sorry to cut you off, but because he doesn't have to do it all the time, he's more likely to get it done when they do need him to. Because he's not going he's playing less minutes. In theory, he should be fresher as the season goes and be able to step up even more in those big spots, especially in the playoffs when they need him, because he's not being worn out during the regular season.
It's like leverage pitches in baseball.
Right.
You know, what is the formula for that? Is that worth 1.3 pitches for every leverage pitch that you make in a game?
Yeah.
Because you're exerting more effort.
Right.
And, you know, I think work smarter, not harder. I think that's exactly what we're seeing out of Donovan Mitchell this year. And I know he likely will not win the MVP award, but it's moments like that. You know, they always call it the Heisman moment.
Yep,
What's your Heisman moment? Last night
it's a
was
moment.
an MVP moment.
that was a moment.
Absolutely.
And, you know, there's a lot of competition for that award.
Denver's
I
coming
think the
out.
league's ready to give it to someone else. I think it will go to someone else this year.
Which is, again, stupid.
So, again, that's
You're
how
right.
they do it.
Jokic is
That's how
having
they
the
do
best
it.
season of his career.
But don't you
Yeah.
feel like there's
Yeah,
an
there's no way they're gonna vote
anti-Jokic
for it
out
again.
there?
But guess what? We got the Nuggets on the schedule coming up.
Wednesday.
They're coming up.
Come
And
on
if you,
over here.
If you want to see the Cavs take on the Nuggets, even though I believe they're home first and then they're in Denver the second time. They have 2 more home
Thursday.
games this week.
Denver's here
That's
Thursday,
Wednesday.
aren't they?
It's Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
It's
Yeah,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Wow.
this week.
Did you guys see that crazy play? He didn't score, but there was an inbound pass at the buzzer, and Jokic from his baseline didn't even catch the pass. It just hit his hand, and he went like this, and
He's
threw
incredible.
it the entire length of the court. It didn't go in,
He's
but it was like there was only point. It was essentially had to be a
Had to be a
tip.
tip.
And they
it
tell
went
you,
the length
you
of the
can't
court.
catch and shoot.
Right.
You got to tap it.
It was incredible. It reached the other basket. He didn't score, but
Yeah, he's
Sorry, Mike.
incredible. If you want to see
Yeah.
him in person or you want to see him play on Tuesday night in person, you can buy your tickets online using the Game Time app because their Game Time picks feature filters out the fluff, showing you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They have priority seats, all-in pricing. You can see a panoramic view from the seat on the app before you buy, plus their lowest price guarantee. Make sure you get the best deal on the internet, or Game Time will credit you with 110% of the difference. You can take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Mike, I have a question for you. Does Game Time offer high school tickets to the state championship game?
I can look. I do not know the
I
answer,
don't-
but I will have an answer by the end of the
I don't
day.
know that they do.
OHSA controls all that, I think.
Yeah, but like, what about resale? Like
I
you
don't
could.
know. Do those sell out?
I don't know that they sell out, but for the prime tickets,
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
I
I
don't
only
know.
asked because my alma mater is playing in the state championship game. They beat Glenville Friday night. I watched the game. All of them were on stream or OHSAA TV. They held Glenville to 3 first downs. Wow.
Perkins, right?
Perkins.
I didn't see that. I didn't know
That's
that was going.
crazy.
It was incredible.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
was.
Well, speaking
it was
of good
incredible.
defense,
Avon's
Jay,
playing for his state championship, too.
I saw they
Yeah.
advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of good defense, we have to talk a little bit about Darius Garland's effort last night against Jayson Tatum. We'll give you the numbers in a sec, but I want to start by playing a little soundbite from Darius. After the game, the main point of conversation was Donovan's fourth quarter and Darius being singled out every single possession by Boston, mostly by Jayson Tatum. It happened against Atlanta as well. I asked him at some point, do you just take that as a sign of disrespect? And this was Darius's answer.
try to make it difficult for them. Try to make them make a tough two or either drive into our bigs. And that's the luxury that we have as smaller guards up there. Just trying to make them a driver into our 2 7-footers that's 2 of the best in the league that just protect the rim. So, yeah, no threes or like a tough contested 2 or finish over our 7-footers down there. I'm going to take that challenge whatever it is. I'm no punk. So if y'all want to switch and try to X me out and try to just hunt me out, that's cool. I ain't no punk, though. I'm going to take a challenge.
So DG says he's not a punk. The numbers bear out. He did a pretty good job guarding Jayson Tatum in those isolation situations yesterday. According to NBA tracking data, in yesterday's game, Tatum took 15 shots with Darius as his primary defender. He scored 15 points on 15 shots. He averaged less than 1 point per possession, and according to NBA tracking data, of those 15 shot attempts, 13 were contested twos or 2-point shots. Only 2 were threes, which is a vast difference from how Boston typically operates their offense. G, you mentioned it before, so I'll let you start. How impressed were you with DG's defensive performance last night in those switch situations?
I didn't see that soundbite, but I think he was talking to a lot of people. Darius Garland, was you talking to me? Was you talking to a lot of people out there? Last year when we was on you, we was giving you a lot of grief. And you had the demeanor wasn't right, and you've talked about some of the things you had going on for you last year. And I think that when you say I ain't no punk, that means like you talking to a lot of people who was questioning your game, questioning your heart, your intensity. And I like that you doubled down on that. This is a different Darius Garland. This is a different type of energy. I like that energy. I like you taking the challenge. Defense is all about attitude and want to. That's it. That's all there is to it. When you making a guy spin 3-4 times, look at this. Now, Jayson Tatum is usually one dribble to the rack. Nah, he's moving his feet, sliding, moving his hands, making him turn directions and getting to where he needs to go. And guess what? He got him by like 5-6 inches. This is the one I like right here. Look, shot contested, get up out of here.
Yeah, but Mike, this entire montage is Tatum making every shot.
And that's
okay. What happened?
No.
I noticed that too, but what you notice is the level of defense.
Bro.
Like he's going to make those shots. He's got a 5-inch advantage over.
If he's going to hit that, you shake his hand. But guess what? That it's tough to do that.
I missed those last two. Yeah,
you see in the beginning, it's easy hitting them shots. But when you got to do that time after time after time after time.
That was a big one right there.
And you making them miss.
It makes them pay.
That's the point we make here. And this is the effort the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to have to play with to beat the Celtics. Because guess what? Jaylen Brown wasn't in here. Jaylen Brown wasn't playing in this game. Derek White did play in this game. And they got some extra pieces. We need some pieces to come back. Yeah. But I'll say this. This level of intensity is the level of intensity that we didn't see against the Hawks.
Every time you make him drive, even though he's good at it, it's a win for the Cavs to some degree.
That is
They're not shooting a three. They're not shooting a three-pointer.
That's right.
And that's Mike and I were talking about this post-game even before anybody started talking. The Cavs put the worm on the hook, and Jayson Tatum bit the hook all night because you would rather have JT in the lane than Boston shooting a three. So it's almost like you put a saddle on DG and tell him just ride him wherever he goes.
Yep.
Because you would rather.
That was crazy.
I will take.
That was crazy.
It sounds counterintuitive.
It's a great analogy, though.
But that was so.
It sounds counterintuitive to say you want Jayson Tatum in the lane in a mismatch, but I'm telling you right now, especially without Jaylen Brown on the floor, Jayson Tatum in the lane on a mismatch is better than Kristaps Porzingis shooting a three.
Yeah.
Or Peyton Pritchard shooting a three. Or JT shooting a three.
And he missed 8 of those.
And so how many shots did he take last night? 30, 27?
In the game?
Yeah.
Let me pull it back.
I think we talked about it last night. I think he took 27 shots and 15
He took 27
were twos.
shots. 15 were with Darius guarding him. And of his 27 shots, only 9 came from the three-point line, which means 18 of his attempts were 2-point attempts.
I am skeptical.
That's a win.
I am skeptical that they can switch Darius onto guys like Jayson Tatum.
That's the plan though, Jason, right? Like
you can't do that regularly.
No. But if you to Jayson Tatum's to his defense, that's the mismatch. They felt like that. Oh, we got what we wanted. That's the game plan.
Yes, you attack the mismatch. I'm saying from the Cavs' perspective, Darius is small and he's had a ton of injuries. Now, every team doesn't have a Jayson Tatum.
Right.
But I just don't know if you can do this every night and have him, because guys are just going to keep attacking him.
I echo
He's
that,
going to
Jay.
wear down. He's going to get hurt.
He's not
And
built
what,
for that.
And that's what you have to be, because you need this guy on the floor. He's showing you again this year how good of an offensive dynamic player he can be. You need him on the floor to win games. And his offense is more important than his defense. I get what Kenny's saying. I get it. But at the same time, I don't know that this is a sustainable thing every single night. But it sure worked last night because the Celtics took the bait.
He's got to be careful. I agree with you in the regular season, but come playoff time, like then it's all hands on deck. I mean,
Sure.
they have to
Yeah,
do that.
but when you get into a playoff series with the Celtics, and if everything goes well, that's where this ends. In an Eastern Conference Championship, Boston v. Cleveland.
Yeah.
7 games in a row of that.
Yeah.
They're going to learn, and Jason will learn, don't take the bait. I want you to play that montage again, not the whole thing, but I'm sure you guys saw it too. I'll answer DG's question for him. Or it was a question, are they disrespecting? Yeah, they are disrespecting you. Watch what Tatum does walking down the floor after this shot. Watch it. The midget.
Too small.
The too small.
He does the too small. International symbol for you're too small. Well, that was early in the game, if my memory serves. What he found out afterwards, at the end of the game, was the little man wore him down. He did take the bait, Jason. You're absolutely right. And I was surprised. I kept saying eventually they're going to figure this out, and they're going to swing it to other guys. They're a three-point shooting team. And Darius basically said, we're going to make you shoot twos. I'm guarding you. You know you can get past me. And in those matchups, he missed 8 of those shots.
Yeah.
So it's a winning strategy for one night.
Right.
It definitely can't be employed for the season. He's not built to. He won't hold up to that. In a series, it will be very fascinating to see how Boston adjusts to that night after night.
I still want to see both these teams at full strength because the Cavs were missing a ton of guys in the first game. Boston was missing Jalen last night, who's obvious, and Derek White are huge to what they do.
Very big.
Cavs are still without Dean Wade, still without Max Strus. So I would really like to see both
When do they
of
play
these.
again?
I don't know.
They
I don't think for a while.
They play twice again in February.
It's a long time.
And
February.
I know we probably got to move on. But
No, we're good.
We okay? All right, 2 things I want to mention. Evan Mobley really struggled against Porzingis.
He did.
And Mobley, obviously we talked about what a great series he had last year against Boston. First game against Boston, he was great. What was the missing piece and all that? Porzingis wasn't out there. Kristaps was out there last night. Evan had, I think, 5 turnovers. Really struggled through 3 quarters, a little bit better in the fourth. But Karras and Evan combined, I think, had 10 turnovers last night. So just something to circle and watch, especially with Evan really struggling against somebody with size. Now we'll see Denver coming to town this week, how they attack Jokic and how much Evan has him. And that's a matchup where I think you want to put Jared on him as much as you can. And then the second thing, we touched on it briefly, the decision to foul I thought was brilliant. And Kenny even, and this is like a hot topic point in the NBA, is do you foul or not? Do you intentionally, when you're up 3, do you foul or not? Because you're giving them, especially a team like Boston with as many 3-point shooters as they have. And I thought it was great strategy. And Kenny said, I was not a foul guy previously. I've changed on that. I've come around. And I didn't get the chance. I wanted to ask him, was that Golden State? Was that the International? Like, at what point did he change? But he said he's come around on that. And he said, like, traditionally it's supposed to be like the last 10 seconds. And he said last night, screw that. Foul him.
Yeah.
Just foul him. Don't even let him get to the line. Yes, it slows the game down. It brings it to a grinding halt. It's ugly. It's choppy. But it's how you have to win in tight games against good 3-point shooting teams. I thought it was a brilliant strategy.
And kudos to them for knocking the free throws down too. You can't employ that type of strategy unless you got people who can get up there.
You have to make them on your end. You have to make them on your end
and knock them down. So,
but to eliminate Boston's best weapon, which is their 3-point shooting,
they never got a shot,
and they never got. And really, I meant to double check this. Watching it live, I didn't go back and look. It felt like the ball was not in Tatum's hands a lot at the end.
Oh,
they had it.
They went to Pritchard.
Yeah, they had it.
Right.
Which, I mean, Pritchard's a good player, fine. If I'm Boston, you want the ball in Jayson Tatum's hands.
Sure.
I mean, Pritchard didn't miss though.
I thought it was crazy how it worked out.
But I thought
both teams hit all of their free throws.
But I was surprised again on that last foul that Pritchard didn't immediately try to go up and shoot as soon as he got the ball, knowing they were going to try to foul.
Right.
It happened so fast.
Yeah.
It was quick.
Half a second, I think they said.
But he was trying to pass.
Yeah, I mean,
which seemed
I don't-
odd.
He
but-
said he was trying to draw them in and then kick out before they got fouled so they could get an open three. But
Yeah.
it's such a fine line. You're threading such a tiny needle.
did you like I liked the missed free throw strategy. I thought they might do it one more I thought they might wait one more time. So foul Cleveland, another 4/10 click off. And then I thought they would try it later because essentially if that doesn't work there, the game is over. It's like going for 2 when you're down 16 on the first possession or 15 and you miss it. Now the game's over.
I think
You always go for 2 without 15.
They were
That's
just trying to
That's the
catch
right
them off
math.
guard.
Yes, it is the right math, but when you miss it, the game's over. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, but in that case,
Because you could wait until the second touchdown
Yeah,
to do it.
I know, but
and I
he-
thought Boston was going to kick it down the can one more time in the hopes that you put Cleveland on the line one
but
more
once
time.
they
and see if
brought
they
in
can-
their extra 7-footer, you knew
yeah,
they were going to
you
do that.
felt like it was coming
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. God, I'd love to look at that again. They only played the replay once and one angle, and it was behind. I would love to see other angles because to me, and I think it was I think it might have been Doherty that said it. Whoa! After when they replayed it, whoa, that was very close.
Yeah.
That might have been the wrong call because obviously he has to have the ball in his hands before his foot hits, and it was so bang bang.
Yeah,
that
it's close. Missing free throws is an art. We used to actually practice missing free throws in
he
practice.
did it perfectly.
It was perfect.
He
Yeah.
slammed it off the
Perfect.
front of the rim, and it came right
And
back
it was
to
so
him.
fast.
Yeah, no,
He
he
was,
didn't give-
it was in and it was out.
Yeah, no,
And
which
you-
is part of the strategy.
It's-
Don't give them time to get ready
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
it was an incredible missed free throw. Obviously, it benefited the Cavs, but the actual execution of what
Yeah,
he did,
perfect.
split second
Yeah.
off.
By the way,
little-
the Cavs broadcast, some people get mad at me. I don't care. Much better with Brad Doherty calling
Brad
games.
Doherty's incredible.
He's
There was a stretch
actually
in
an
the last
analyst.
2 minutes last night. Brad went on like a little bit of a rant. Not a rant. During one of the timeouts, they kept it there, and they were recapping some of the highlights. And one of the
Yeah.
plays was that Okoro touch pass leading to the dunk. But his energy level, his enthusiasm, his knowledge of the game. It's no disrespect to the other guy because
Yeah.
we know what he is and we all love him. But from a technical standpoint,
much better.
Brad is incredible on the calls. We've got to get Brad in here too, by the way.
I saw Brad Sellers yesterday too. He said what's up.
Oh,
So,
good.
Hey.
We'll try to get Brad Doherty on, but we're gonna talk Browns because they have a game tonight. Primetime matchup against the Broncos. And Browns fans, just like me, I know you haven't finalized your holiday gift list yet. And if you haven't, I have the perfect gift idea for the passionate sports fans in your life. Perhaps you've heard of an ice shaker. Well, Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and Major League Baseball to make it an ideal gift for any sports fan. The Ice Shaker was created by and still used to this day by the Gronkowski brothers. Ice Shaker has sold over 1 million bottles. They've changed the game with their workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. So go to iceshaker.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% off your order. The Ice Shaker is made with kitchen-grade stainless steel. It holds ice up to 30 hours and keeps it cold. Plus, you can customize it with any logo you want. As long as you send it in, they can turn it around for you in 3 to 5 business days. Order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market, and that is the Ice Shaker.
Better buying that than going to the store, man. I don't know why anybody shopping in stores at this time of year is crazy. I went to Crocker Park on Friday because we did the escape room there, and it was just bananas.
Yeah.
It was bananas.
Shout out to everybody out there. Listen, I'm a big fan of watching series on abandoned malls. It is sad that malls go out of business.
Crocker Park's not going out of business, I'll tell you that. They're doing really well.
Yeah.
Speaking of doing
expanded.
really well, Bull,
Yeah.
Jameis Winston over his last 2 games has played at an incredibly high level, helping the Browns go 2-2 in his 4 starts as the starter, beating the Steelers and the Ravens. Tonight they take on the Broncos in a primetime matchup in Denver. We've talked about the Jameis Winston roller coaster since the day he took over. There's some highs, there's some lows, but he's played really well in the last 2 games. So do you think we are due for a regression, or has Jameis played well enough in your mind that he's kind of turned the Jameis roller coaster into the Jameis lazy river, and it's just all smooth sailing from here on out?
I don't know how you even answer this question. I don't particularly love this question, Mike. No offense,
That's fine.
but I know you won't be sensitive about it. It's. I mean, who the hell knows? How can you? I guess everything we talk about, who the hell knows? It's all prediction. But
Do you have faith in Jameis?
That's the question. Do you
not
have faith
really.
that he's
Yeah,
done
do you
with
have faith in
the
Jameis? Yeah.
eggs?
No, I mean,
don't.
how
Not to
could
that
you?
point.
I mean, he's only played 4 games. He had one bad one. played well enough. I mean, it's a 4-week stretch where he's played 3 good games. No, I don't trust that he's going to just play great the rest of the season. Most quarterbacks are not going to play great the rest of the season. You see, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are up and down, and I think Jameis is in that group. So, will he play well tonight? I mean, Denver's defense has been pretty good. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game, but Pittsburgh's defense before last week had been pretty good, and he did a really good job in the snow. So, I guess I got to get off the fence, and I'll say he plays a solid game tonight. But neither way would surprise me.
Yeah.
You know what? I was watching something the other day, and they said, Napoleon. People believed that he was short, and come to find out, historical data has proved that Napoleon was actually taller than the average male back then.
Was he?
Yeah.
That.
It's been passed on along generations and generations, and
So that would be a myth.
a myth, right? Like
Urban myth.
kind of like the urban myth that germs get you sick. Germs actually get you sick, not having a coat on outside.
Oh, you mean the cold weather?
Yeah, cold weather.
Yeah,
Change of weather has nothing to do with whether you got pneumonia or not.
Yeah.
My grandma and my mom were completely out of their mind with that.
That's why you still wear a hat.
Which
to
is
this
why
day.
I have a hat on in the building right now and a scarf. But I say that to say this. I believe that the narrative that Jameis Winston is a roller coaster ride is basically an overstated myth that we've been told because we don't watch all games. We don't watch all games equally. And the narrative around Jameis Winston has been, yes, he's going to throw you 30 touchdowns, but he's throwing 30 picks. But when you look at the historical data behind Jameis Winston, you look at it, some of his numbers are just as good, or if not even standard, than regular quarterbacks who have a track record of being steady, or quarterbacks that are decent quarterbacks. I think sometimes when we ask the question about his roller coasters, I have to say, all right, well, look, he's played 4 games, 3 of those games, he's played pretty well. He had the one game where he, threw some interceptions and they played bad against the Chargers. Turns out Chargers defense is pretty good. So look, if you look at it comparatively across the board with other quarterbacks, the numbers are about comparable.
Who?
I think
But
I
who's the
looked
example?
once. Isn't he like 111 touchdowns and 74 picks or something?
148 touchdowns and 103 picks in his career.
Okay, so that's a plus
Again, that doesn't
45.
tell the whole story, but
No,
it
it
tells
doesn't.
some
That's
of
one of the
story.
stats that we look at. I think you have to ask this to answer the question. If there's 3 bins that you could put him in, mostly good, mostly bad, or in the middle, up and down. I have him as an in the middle, up and down. If I had to push him closer to one side or the other, that would be very easy for me. He is closer to mostly good than he is mostly bad. I do think that to your point, I think that the circumstances over the last couple of years have led most people to believe he's a backup. Yeah. He's not a starting quarterback. You can't rely on him. He's had a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. He has had stretches in his career where he has thrown a lot more touchdown passes to interceptions. Right now, that ratio isn't even 2 to 1. Mm-hmm. That's what we would say would be acceptable. Anything below that, you're really in trouble.
He's only had 1 year in his career where he's been 2 to 1 or better. One.
I know.
And that was with the Saints playing 7 games. So in a full season, in his 5 years where he played double-digit games, he never had a 2 to 1 touchdown.
No, I mean, look at his career numbers. His career numbers are 1.5 to 1.
Not even.
Well,
worse than that.
Yeah, you'd have to be 150 to 100 to be 1.5 to 1, and both those numbers are very close. But he's below 1.5 to 1. And at some point, whoever decides or not that Jameis Winston is our quarterback moving forward, what you have to have is a sustained body of work where he is more than 2 to 1. What good is it? We saw this last year. What good is it if Joe Flacco, who throws a lot of touchdowns but is prone to the picks, throws the picks in the biggest game of the year and you get your toe stepped on and your season's over?
When he was in New Orleans, what was it when he got hurt? Was it 12 touchdowns or how
that
many
1 year, the only good touchdown interception ratio of his career, 2021, he played 7 games. He had 14 touchdowns, 3 picks.
That's what we want.
That's the outlier.
Now, that's probably, but isn't that the largest body of work that we've had from him over the last 4 seasons?
Yes.
Yes.
And Sean King was very clear to bring this out.
Yeah.
He said that when he left Tampa, there were a series of things that forced him to sort of reevaluate his play. Mm-hmm. One of them was you plucked him out, you put the GOAT in, and they won a Super Bowl in the next season. That can be humbling. It wasn't just the GOAT, he was a 46-year-old GOAT, or however old Brady was when he won that last Super Bowl. He had some time to stand on the sidelines and watch the game and to understand from maybe a different perspective just how crippling interceptions can be. And so if you take that stretch of work and you add it to this bit, you said it was 12 to, what was it?
It was 14-3.
Okay, so if you add 14-3 to this year, you get 21-7, which is 3-1.
And then ignore the 2 years in between?
Yes.
I mean, we do.
Now, he didn't play a ton the last 2 years.
No, that's why I ignored it.
But he had 6 touchdowns and 8 picks in the
So
last 2 years.
post-Tampa then,
Yeah.
he's 27-15, which is real close to 2-1. That's what I'm saying. You've got to get me to 2-1 before I buy in.
And I'll always say this. We talked about this earlier this season. We saw a quarterback that would not push the ball down the field, right? All interceptions aren't created equally. I'm going to, as a person who's an aggressive play caller, I like aggressiveness on the field. I like to go for it. I'm going to take some interceptions in the scheme of things.
Especially the ones that are downfield, because
yes.
those are like punts.
Yeah.
The ones that are 3 yards in the flats that can be returned for a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need you check. Listen, it's a lot of Colt McCoys out here. I don't need check down Charlies, the Brady Quinns of the world. I need somebody who's going to push the football down the field, and it opens some things up. I can accept turnovers. I can accept interceptions. Where I don't want the interceptions are in the red zone.
Yeah.
I don't like red zone turnovers because you're taking points off the board. But if you're going to give me the turnover because you're trying to fit it somewhere and the guy tips the ball in the air, I'll take that. But for the most part, I'm not saying Jameis Winston is going to be, I don't know, the next coming of Jeff Hostetler win you a Super Bowl as a backup. But what I am saying, I think there's more put onto him than normal quarterbacks get, because the narrative is that he's a turnover machine, which I think in the last
true.
And turnover machine, we just talked about it. It was 27-15. That's not a turnover machine.
Okay, but we're talking about his whole career. He's been a turnover machine.
Do you believe
Or
that?
you could also call him then a touchdown machine.
I mean, we could move the goalposts wherever we want it. If I say just the last 3 years, he's got as many interceptions as touchdowns.
Okay.
To this point in his career, that one season in New Orleans is the anomaly.
You're right, but it's the largest body of work we have post Tampa.
Okay,
I mean, you got to go by two things. I agree. You can't ignore everything. You got to look at the total career. But for me, I've changed my opinion on Josh Allen this season.
Yeah.
Prior to this season, I just said, you're not winning a Super Bowl with that guy. You're not. He's going to throw a pick at the worst possible time, and he's going to cost you in a big spot.
I changed my mind on Tua. I think Tua.
You got okay. All right, that's fine. I mean, yes. But I haven't. I mean, I always thought Josh Allen could win a Super Bowl.
I thought he was a great quarterback who wasn't going to win because of his turnovers.
Yeah, but
this year, he's washed his turnovers out. By the way, did you see what he did last night? Became one of 4 players in NFL history to throw and catch a touchdown on the same play.
Did he really get credit for both the
They
passes?
credit him for both,
not
which
a
I
reception.
disagree. No,
They
it's
didn't
not a
count it as a
reception, but it's a
reception.
touchdown. It's a receipt. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He does not get credit for a reception. He gets credit for a receiving touchdown.
So more importantly, because I checked out weeks ago, who has him in fantasy, and did they get double points for that?
So
I
during the game, Chris Collinsworth was mentioning, because he was playing Jack in his fantasy league, he won his fantasy game because of that play. So he got 12 points.
You get 4 points for the pass and 6 points for the touchdown reception. You get 10 points for that?
Yes, I think he said in his league.
That's
I
crazy.
thought he said it was more.
We'll check it out.
Because
That's
each league
crazy.
scoring is different.
Yeah.
But he did get credit for a throw. He's the one of 4 players to ever do that. To get credit for throwing and catching a touchdown on the same play.
So real quick, because
hold on 1 second. In Josh Allen's, and by the way, he rushes for a lot of touchdowns, which Jameis certainly doesn't do.
Yeah.
But in his 7 years in the NFL, he's only in 5, even with his high interception rate.
Right.
5 of his 7 years, he's been more than 2-1 touchdown interception. 5
Yes.
out of 7, and 5 of his last 6.
But to G's point, not all interceptions are created equal. again, anecdotally, my eye test, watching him, he was throwing them at a like Baker throws picks. You're like, Baker, what are you doing there? Why are you even throwing the ball there?
There was a game,
and so there were bad interceptions.
There was games against. I think it's last year where the Jets won that game on like a punt return or something. He was throwing. He just dropped back and just threw the ball up. I was like,
yeah, you can't do that. Now, I will say though, Bull, I think that, and you always say this, it's an unintelligent man who doesn't change his mind with more information.
People can get better.
I have believed that Josh Allen was a top 8 quarterback who was going to put up ungodly numbers because of the offense and the system that they run, but ultimately was going to keep his team from winning a Super Bowl because of his propensity to throw picks at awful times. After watching him this year, now again, you can kind of say it's gravy training because it's not in a critical moment, but watching him this year, watching him operate, he's changed his modus operandi. He isn't pushing balls into spots that he has no business pushing them into. He's willing to live to see another pass. And if he can continue to play like that through the playoffs, I'm interested to see how far they can go. This team can absolutely win a Super Bowl with Josh playing the way he's playing right now.
Last year, he threw too many picks, definitely. I don't think he's been that way his whole career, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to know the numbers of picks in big spots.
Too many is interesting. Bull, like we're using 2-1 is where I want to see Jameis.
Yeah.
And you're saying that
that's kind of flawed to begin with.
2-1 is not a great ratio. I'm looking for 4-1.
Well, he's been way better than 2-1 every year but last year since his rookie season.
Right, but he's not 3-1. And I want...
He has been some seasons.
Well, for his career, he's not. I don't think.
Well, but...
And Bull, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, like if... And you know these numbers when you see them. When you see 38 touchdowns and 13 picks, okay, that's a... I can win with that. I can absolutely. That's 3-1.
If you include his rushing touchdowns, he's done 3-1 a few times.
Well, if you include his rushing touchdowns, yeah.
Then you include his fumbles too.
I think, for my money, he's the. And I know you guys are going to jump all over me for this because there are quarterbacks that run the ball better. I don't think there's a more effective runner of the football at that position than Josh Allen. Now, don't take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
Every time, give me, if you get one play, then, okay, give me Lamar Jackson. There might even be other quarterbacks I would throw in there before Josh Allen. But what Josh does, Josh picks his spots, I think, very wisely. And the run, the play that he scored on the Amari Cooper lateral to him, I think the most impressive thing about that play was he left his feet at the 3.5 yard line.
He's an athletic freak of nature.
He is an athletic freak, and he's big.
Yeah, sure.
So when Lamar does it, I'm always like, oh God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
When Josh does it, I'm like, oh, he could drop his shoulder and knock a linebacker out of the game.
True, but Lamar does a much better job than Josh Allen of not taking big hits.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
But I just think that in terms of overall running game, like knowing when to run.
Please don't make me drop this flag.
Ability to.
Don't make me drop it.
Last thing on bring it back to Jameis.
No, hold on.
Bring it back to Jameis. Last thing.
Do you have faith, yes or no?
No, you're not going to slide on the Lamar Jackson. You just try to make Josh Allen a runner than Lamar Jackson. We're not going to do that.
I did. No, what are you talking about?
I was waiting to make me drop this flag.
I was very clear to say.
Don't make me drop it.
Don't mistake what I said, and you clearly have.
Okay.
Yeah. You mistake.
But we went to the review.
So here's what I said. If you've got one play and I need a quarterback to run, it's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, I even said, is a better runner of the football than Josh Allen.
After further review, the call of the field stands. Jay, we'll take that.
Jay.
We're picking the flag up.
Okay.
Last thing on
Jameis. Good job by the review.
The last thing on Jameis is that if you want to, you guys have bought in, that's fine.
How are you going to say I bought in?
All I'm saying with Jameis is, if you're going to convince me, not that you have to convince me, I'm just saying, for me personally, convince that Jameis is now a different quarterback than he was in Tampa, then I got to see it more than 4 weeks.
And that's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
I would like to also. Jason, you've been very quiet on this. I'm going to set you up by asking you this, okay?
And then we're going to Ohio State next.
We didn't take into account in this. The reason I expect a clunker from Jameis tonight, not just because he's due one, because I look at the matchup, and this matchup has a recipe for disaster because Denver gets after the quarterback like no team in the NFL, and our offensive line, let's face it, there's smoke and mirrors going on. sometimes they look like they're a B+, A-, and other times they look like they're a solid F. So the matchup that most scares me coming into tonight is their defensive front against our offensive line.
And they have maybe the best cover corner in the NFL.
Oh, add that in there too.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, do I trust Jameis implicitly? No. Do I think he gives them the best chance to win of all the quarterbacks on the roster? Yeah, right now.
Not much debate there.
Yeah,
Not
So,
much
can I sit here and say you can write him down right now for 250 yards, even 275 yards, 2 touchdowns and no picks? No, I'm not.
No way.
You can't count on that every night. I'm kind of in Bull's camp with this. Like I think James has had a fine season. He had one bad game. He's done a fine job since the Browns put him in. I'm just not ready to run down the aisle and marry him yet.
Right, you want to see more.
Yeah.
Take him on a few more dates.
Yep. Broncos averaging 3.7 sacks per game, which is the best in the league.
That's incredible. So this is really like the meet the parent stage of dating. Like, you're not willing to ask for their hand in marriage, but you're taking the giant leap of saying, I've been with this person long enough, it's time they meet the parents.
Oh, I'm not. We're still in Netflix and chill.
Are you really?
Oh, we're not meeting the parents yet. Been 3 dates.
And if
No,
I
it's been 4.
and if I
Fine.
Jason,
One-
you think you're getting Netflix and chill that quickly? Not
Before
every
you
girl's
meet them.
gonna-
Oh, listen, if Jason wasn't getting Netflix and chill by game 5,
She'd be out.
she was out.
and hold on,
I'm just calling it what it
Jason's not a
is.
patient man.
And he's not the only one on this panel that would.
and if I was
Meanwhile, G's married by the 5th time.
if I was the parents of the said Browns in this, I'm telling them to go trap Jameis Winston. You might want to go and get him.
Before
I got the
you get
movie
indicted
ready.
on
Pull
anything-
the goalie.
Get a pin ready.
Yeah, right.
Before G gets in trouble, let's get an ad read in because the next topic might
Too
get
late.
everyone in trouble. How do you stay warm and
Trap
cozy
'em.
during the
Trap game.
winter months? For some, they wrap themselves up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate and watch a movie with their family. That's sometimes the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is also a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even as the seasons change. So if you're thinking about joining therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Ohio State needs help beating Michigan. 4 in a row now, 13-10, the final from this weekend's debacle. Do the Buckeyes have to fire Ryan Day? Is that the ultimate conclusion to how you see this situation unfolding?
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. You believe that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not convinced.
Well,
I think
here's the
they
thing.
should.
I mean, unless
I'm not
they
convinced
win the
will.
national championship.
That's it.
Of course. Yeah.
He saves his job if he runs the table. It's not
Yeah.
happening. If he runs the table and wins the national championship. Short of that, forget everything you're hearing about the buyout. Forget it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is Ohio State. They will
Yep.
find the money. Do you guys follow Matt Finkes?
Yeah.
Matt's a longtime friend of mine. He was with Vrabel and Fickle on the Rose Bowl team.
Them brothers.
In the mid-90s. He's a great guy. He's plugged into what's going on in Columbus. They don't let that buyout number fool you. And by the way, that number goes away after December 1st, by my understanding. They're not going to fire him before December 1st. He got the dreaded vote of confidence from the athletic director last night. That's scary. But they're not going to win the national championship, and he will be fired before next season. He will not be coaching the team next season. And I think that's the right move. What I saw Saturday was the biggest abuse of talent. It was coaching malpractice. Now, you can't necessarily point at Ryan Day, who thought he took himself out of the fire when he said, I'm not going to call plays anymore. Chip Kelly was abysmal. That play calling was unbelievable. But the result happened on Saturday, and I'm interested to see if you guys believe this. The result happened for 2 reasons. Michigan had way more intensity than Ohio State, and they were coaching with nothing to lose. Ohio State was coaching with everything to lose, and the team with the most intensity is more often than not wins these rivalry games. It's not an excuse. It's actually an indictment on Ryan Day. The fact that they have the countdown clock and he's been talking about this and how much it means. We have some behind the scenes knowledge of how sensitive he is to the pressure. That opened up a window into my view of Ryan Day and who he is and why he will never be successful at the top level.
In his biggest games, right, like college football playoffs in Michigan, he's 2-7.
Yep.
There's no excuse.
It's
this
John
is Ohio
Cooper
State.
part 2, right?
And here's the thing. In the biggest games, he puckers up every time.
That's why.
Every time.
Yes.
Michigan with Harbaugh and I forgot the name of their coach now.
Urban Meyer?
No, Michigan's current coach.
Jerome Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Jerome Moore. They go for it. They play aggressively against Ohio State. Oh, I mean, the play calling beyond what they kept bringing up on the broadcast about stop running the ball in the middle, but just the conservativeness. They get that crazy turnover. The kid makes the interception. And then they just run it was like they weren't even trying to get a first down. They were just trying to punt.
10 of Michigan's 13 points came on drives that totaled 6 yards.
Yeah.
6
They could
yards.
move the ball.
Yeah.
They could move the ball. Quarterback threw for 70 yards.
If they play this game 10 times on a neutral field, Ohio State wins 8. The amount of talent that they have is insane. It's the highest payroll in college football. We've heard all of that nonsense.
Their quarterback's hideous.
Terrible.
Michigan.
They
God.
could not move the football.
Yeah.
Yet, they won the game. Now, a lot of things happen too. The kicker missing 2 kicks.
Well, how do you not have a kicker, Jay? How do you not have a good kicker at Ohio State?
He is a good kicker. He's been a good kicker all year. You know what? You take on the characteristic of your coach.
It's
all
mental.
week long, his ass was this tight.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And the team all around him said, wow, Ryan's right. They took the shot in the tunnel coming out, and I said, uh-oh, Ryan looks like he's getting ready to go into his death. He was scared. You can't coach in these games scared. Say whatever you will about Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was never afraid of Michigan. Also, one other thing that I think I've changed my mind on this. When Jim Harbaugh initially made the dig on Ryan Day about, some people are born on third and thought they hit a triple. I thought, that's unfair. No, it's not unfair. Right. Jim Harbaugh, you aptly described Ryan Day. He was handed a championship roster.
Where he comes
His
from?
only win against Michigan came with Urban Meyer's team.
And he had more of an advantage than any Ohio State coach has ever had on some level because Ohio State now out in the open could spend more money than anybody.
You're right.
Man,
and they did.
How
They have all this talent. And what happened?
Anytime someone brought it up, Ryan Day got his
20-point favorite. It's the biggest.
Listen, that was the easiest betting line I've ever seen. Told everybody all upstairs on Friday or on Wednesday, my last day. I said, "You want to make money? There's no way Ohio State's covering that." That's ridiculous.
Well, based on the line, it was the biggest upset in the history of the series.
Yeah, I understand that, but that line was ridiculous. You're not winning that rivalry game by that many points.
Let me tell you this. I mean, first and foremost, he probably won't get fired. And I don't know why people think, oh, G. Bush doesn't like the Buckeyes. I said, first and foremost, I don't have no dog in the fight. I watch college football. I look at it.
You're not an Ohio State fan?
If it comes down to rooting for Ohio State or Florida or somebody, I'm going to root for Ohio State.
I didn't know that, though. I didn't know that. I thought you would have called yourself a big fan.
And it's kind of tough when you play for other schools.
You went to OU. Played for OU.
That's my team. So my thing is, I watch them all the time.
Congrats. OU's going to the MAC championship.
9-3. We like that, man. So for me, I watch them. I know a bunch of alumni that played there. I got cousins and family members that played there. And my brothers and my dad are diehard fans. They watched this. They was crying. No, they weren't crying, but they were. You know how I get. Now, listen. Ohio State has professional players, man. And this is what I've been trying to drill down on. You guys stop trying to save regular people. When you come behind Woody Hayes and Tressel and Urban Meyer and giants of the game, you should not be sitting here crying because of Ryan Day. Where did he come from? Who put him on? Like, why does he deserve to have? This is one of
Urban recommended him.
This is one of the top 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Every year. Yeah. Do you know who would kick and scream to get this type of job? This is the bluest blood of all blue bloods. The fact that you came out there and you have Jeremiah Smith and Ibuka and all these running backs, and you got a bunch of people that don't know what to do. This Michigan team is one of the worst Michigan teams I've ever seen.
You know what, though? I will give them credit where it's due. They won because of Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale. They've got talent, too. Let's not make it seem like this Michigan team's got no talent. I think Saturday's win for them was an indictment of how poorly the effort that they put forth, because I watched 3 of their losses, and I'm like, this team's not trying. This is an effort loss. But Wink Martindale had the perfect scheme for all of these guys, and they executed it. They executed the game plan to perfection.
I give them credit, but I go back to, and this is the main thesis, I go back to what Maurice Claret said. I go back to it.
Yeah, the prettiness.
You guys are not built the way you were supposed to in these trenches. Ohio State is a nice team. And the fact that they came out there and wanted to get tough after somebody put the flag on the field, come on, guys, listen. I was talking to Jonathan Wells, and he said, listen, you should have beat them on the field. Who cares about that flag? It's about what you're going to do on that football field. You had an opportunity to beat them in between the lines, and now you're upset. Now, look, they got to get to a point where they can, the next coach they get in here, how's about start coming? Y'all might want to come back up north again. Because y'all recruit from everywhere. But the teams that have been successful, where's your ball players? Where's your base at? You got to rally your base a little bit, man. Last time I checked, that trophy back there came back from guys that coming from Cleveland, Northeast Ohio.
They still recruit Ohio very heavily, though.
But here's what I'm saying. That's the mentality. You got a lot of dudes, you get guys. Shout out to Will Howard. He comes from Kansas State and all that good stuff. You need to get your trenches figured out. And right now, I don't think Ohio State is tougher than Michigan. Michigan came out there and proved it, and Ryan Day should have been gone 2 years ago.
Will Howard celebrated that Indiana win as if they'd done something.
Well, and that's the thing that just has always bothered me about Ryan Day is he just punches down.
Yeah.
And he can't punch up.
You're right.
He goes after Lee Corso. He runs up the score on Indiana.
We went after Lou Holtz.
That's why I'm sorry. That's what I meant. He goes after Lou Holtz.
That's when you're going to become a tough guy?
He runs up. It's Indiana. It's freaking Indiana. I said this last week. Why are you running up the score, going in victory formation, and punching into it? Like Travion Henderson did the right thing. Travion Henderson goes to the goal line and falls down, and then your idiot ass goes up there and runs 2 more plays to get against Indiana. Why are you running up the score on Indiana?
Yeah.
So I've always had a problem with just how thin-skinned he is, and he just punches down against guys that he doesn't need to be punching down on. And then in the moment against the bully you should be punching, he can't punch up.
Let's try to spin it forward, Jace, because you understand the search and the names and everything else. I've talked to 3 or 4 people that are in Columbus that are dialed in, and I keep asking, not who do you want? That's a different argument. Who do they get?
Right.
If you had to give me 3 names that are on that list, and obviously Vrabel, Vrabel's going to have the pick of his NFL dreams. I don't see Mike going in for this nonsense and foolishness that is coaching college football today. I don't blame him if he says, I'm staying with the big boys. But who are the 3 names that will be on the final list, and are there names that should be on that list that aren't?
You make Vrabel tell you no, and he probably will.
I agree.
He probably will. But
I think he may already have told them.
He may have, but you make him tell you no, and then you move on from there. I do think it's... because I covered Ohio State. Were you there for the Cooper years?
I was.
Okay.
All of them.
So I was there for my first job out of college was covering Ohio State. I had John's last year, and I've kind of downplayed this, but it's worth pointing out. The guys who are from here have the most success in this
100%
series,
agree.
and you can't run from that. Like John never got it, 2-10-1. Ryan's not from here, 1-4.
Yep.
Trussell 9-1. Urban never lost to him. Even Earl Bruce had a winning record against Michigan. Earl wasn't a great
Would
coach.
Urban ever come back? Would they ever bring him back?
So the reason I asked this question is because of the 3 people that I talked to, 2 of them with some degree of certainty said yes, he would come back, and yes, they would ask him back. Because those are the questions I asked.
Right.
I asked, like you, who are the names? And I got a variety of different names.
Marcus Freeman is out there.
Marcus Freeman said some things against Ohio State that will come back to haunt him. When Marcus left for Notre Dame, he said in his introductory news conference, and I remember when he said this at the time, it was odd because they had to play Ohio State.
I don't remember this.
He said, I shouldn't have gone to Ohio State. I made a mistake.
Oh, wow.
And I think
I
that,
don't remember that.
disqualifies him from coming
He's
back.
an Ohio kid, too.
Ohio kid who said he made a mistake by going to Ohio State. Now, look, you're speaking to your base. That's the
Right.
equivalent of Brian Kelly going down to LSU and acting
talking
like
with
he's
an
got a
accent.
Southern accent.
Yeah.
Right.
Bro, don't. It's fake. It's not you. Maybe with truth serum, maybe Freeman would now say, I got caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that, but I did. But
If
there
you
are going to
think-
be a lot of people in Columbus that don't forget that.
If you think he's the best choice, you can't let that stop you. I don't know that he is the best choice.
I
I don't know that he is the best choice either.
You got to get you a name. You got to have a name. After you come, like if you come with Ryan Day and you saw what it looked like. When Tressel was doing Michigan like that, who they went and got? They finally got who?
Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're going to get Harbaugh. We're not playing with no Brady Hoax. We're not playing with none of these other dudes.
Yeah.
Who would the
Rich
equivalent to Harbaugh be? Mike Vrabel?
Yes.
Played at the school,
Yes.
had success in the
In the
NFL.
NFL, yes.
I think he would be the target. But Mike loves the university so much. I know that people have reached out to Mike. If Mike truly has said, "I'm not going back to the nonsense of college," Mike is a no-nonsense guy. He really is. He suffers no fools,
Yeah.
and he doesn't enjoy playing games. And right now in college football, that's what it's become. I think that Mike loves the university so much that my guess is people have reached out to him to gauge interest, and my guess is Mike, because he loves the university so much, doesn't want to hinder the process moving forward,
Right.
would be the kind of guy that would say, "Look, go to your next candidate."
Here's the thing with Urban. Would he do that to Ryan?
Oh, I don't, listen.
I know Urban's a killer with an ego.
They're going to fire him anyway.
If there is that, like, I mean, I'll take
I'm
this
surprised
back.
you're even asking that question.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but like I take it back to like the Cavs tried to fire David Blatt and hire Ty Lue multiple times, and Ty kept telling them, "No,
Yeah.
I'm not taking this
I
job."
feel there are some differences there.
Yeah, I know. And Urban, I know.
And
Urban,
the biggest thing to me is this. Urban never wanted to leave Ohio State. The people that were closest to him and that know him well
Yeah.
know that he did not want to leave Ohio State. His hand was forced because the administration at the time did not like how powerful Urban had become at the university.
Yeah,
And so there was a real power struggle. Note that the two main players that forced Urban Meyer out, and that's what it was, are gone.
he does burn hot and he burns fast. He's not long for any job.
Listen, I don't think it's not that he's too old to be a long-term solution. It's what you just said. It's what Jim Harbaugh is. Jim Harbaugh, if you look at his history, when he was hired by Michigan, I remember we reached out to some folks at Stanford. We were at ESPN, we were saying, okay, so what should we expect? And everybody told us the same story. All of it, of course, off the record. But we had sources saying the same thing. They're like, oh, they are going to love this dude in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And they are going to rule the day that they ever brought him in, because he will leave that program. Although they will improve and win, he's going to leave it worse than he found it. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily true. He left on top. But the mess that he left behind is exactly what the Stanford people were talking about.
Yeah.
And with Urban, you're dancing with the devil, I think. You're dancing with the devil. But you're talking about a fan base that loves to win and loves tradition more than it loves everything else. He's a Buckeye. He's won. He's tried. He's true. Can he win in today's climate? I don't know.
I think he can. And I don't know Urban well at all.
Right.
At all. I've only met him a couple of times. But I think I know him well enough from talking to others. He's probably embarrassed by the way the NFL went. And,
Extremely.
And I don't know that he wants that to be his lasting.
That was bad.
Agreed.
Could
Agreed.
they get Nick Saban to come out of retirement?
No. Nick's done. I don't think.
Nick's
now,
73, right?
Nick
Isn't he
is
73?
same as Bill. I think they're both in their early 70s. Now, Bill wants to come back and coach in the
Bill wants
NFL
the
because he
record.
wants the record.
Yeah.
And there's also a bit of Bill that is tired of the argument's been settled. It is quarterback over system or quarterback over coach. Because Brady went elsewhere and won, I think the pendulum has swung in, and Bill did not have success without Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would love the right situation with a quarterback that he feels he can win with, and he's going to be given the control that Atlanta wouldn't give him. Bill would come back And he would love more than anything to have 2 successful seasons, one where he makes it to a Super Bowl and maybe wins, then leaves on his terms. Urban didn't leave on his terms, both college or pro. Urban told me to my face when I asked him, will you coach again? He said, I will. It will be one of 2 jobs, the Cowboys or the Fighting Irish.
Wow.
Not long after that conversation, which was face-to-face, not over the phone, he ends up taking the Jacksonville job.
Yeah.
And I was stunned because he said it with all the conviction in the world. And I said, why those 2? He goes, those are the Blue Bloods. That's how you're measured.
I will say this, dark horse candidate for me, watch it, especially if they perform well this year in the playoff, Dan Lanning.
It's on the list.
Dan Lanning.
He's very much on the list.
He got that type of mentality. He's done it at Oregon.
Maurice Claret?
No.
Craig Krenzel?
No.
Mike Nugent?
No. She's going back to
Craig Powell.
No. Lorenzo Styles.
His kid's pretty good player. A really good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So to put a bow tie on it real quick, is Ryan Day safe with a natty and gone under any other circumstances?
I'm
Of course
surprised
he's
you're
safe if they win the championship.
I'm surprised you're as strong that he's out, because I do think that the $40 million buyout, I don't know what it goes down to.
I heard that after December 1st, it goes down. They're not
To
going to
what,
fire him
though?
before the playoffs.
Obviously not.
I had
No.
said last week there was a big conversation upstairs. He's gone if he loses, right? And I said, no, he's not. Because he's going to make the playoffs. Right now, there's a scenario, and this could be fascinating, and it could vault them to a national championship. They're still a very good football team. Don't get that wrong. Don't think that because they lost to Michigan that they're definitely
There's
not
no
going to win a
sure
national
thing
championship.
team, right?
No.
There's no such thing, especially this year. I watched between Thursday and Saturday. I watched the Georgia Tech. I watched every second of it.
Georgia Tech was phenomenal.
That was
I almost
maybe,
texted you guys
one
to
of
see
the
if you're
best
still
games
awake.
I've ever watched.
I watched that.
It had everything.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It had a big Georgia Tech came out 17-0 on the road.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching, I'm going, this is what happens in rivalry games.
Yeah.
Teams that aren't supposed to win can win. But to my ultimate point on Ohio State and moving forward the future, the way the bracket looks right now, Ohio State would have to play Oregon in the second game. That is a winnable game on a neutral field for this football team. It all comes
They
down to...
should have been the first time, really.
Yes. It's my saying in life. Life isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you respond to what happens to you.
Where are they ranked right now? But it's going to change.
They're 8.
It'll be tomorrow. when the
Yeah,
poll
I mean, by most estimates, they're going to be 8 or 9. But the way the bracket is going to pair out, it's the way it's going to shake out, they likely would have to play Oregon. If they stay in the 8, they would have to play Oregon in the second round. Their second round. It would be the first game.
Does the
for
one
Oregon.
seed play the lowest ranked team that moves on? Do we know that?
I don't actually know if it's a standard bracket
If they
or
reseed.
if it's
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's the way it is, because I know
They
in the
should.
NFL playoffs they don't reseed, and I don't believe
They don't in the
that
NFL.
they
In
do.
college, they definitely should.
Yeah, in the NFL they do. In college they
reseed.
don't.
Yeah, in the NFL they do.
Yeah, so, but I don't. When I look,
Well,
at
we don't
all
know
the
in college
12
they
teams,
don't. It's never
I know,
happened.
no, I
before.
do know.
I'll
I've
look that
read
up.
it. I don't.
Let me do a read. I'll let you
Quickly,
guys jump
last
in
thought. There will not be a team in the 12 that Ohio State can't beat.
Totally agree.
There won't be.
But I also think this team might just be broken after
That's the thing.
that.
So how do they respond to what happened to them?
This will be his most difficult coaching job.
It will.
Over these next couple
It's
weeks.
going to do one of
is
two
get
things.
These guys ready
They'll
to go.
either spiral and get boat raced in the first round, or they could rally, beat Oregon,
Yeah.
have all the confidence in the world. Texas is, to me, Texas is the favorite. Texas is beatable.
For
They're
sure.
very beatable.
Yes.
So nothing's going to surprise me.
Georgia
with what
could win the
happens.
whole frickin' thing.
Georgia could win it too. Georgia
It's
could win
wide
it, too.
open this year.
Go ahead,
It's, you know
Mike.
what? It's become
It'll
the
be fun.
NFL. Just because you lose one game to a rival,
Yeah.
you know, in the NFL, you're not written off with one loss.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers handed the Lions their only loss, and they've beaten the Bills, who have 2. That's what happens in football. Anybody can win.
Let's get back to pro football, guys. You can tackle all your NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers on FanDuel can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We talked about Jameis against the Broncos defense. Let's flip the script here and talk Bo Nix versus the Browns defense. Over his last 5 games, Bo Nix has 12 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's thrown for over 215 yards in each of those 5 contests. Gee, what does this Browns defense have to do to slow down a Broncos offense that on paper doesn't have a ton of names, but's been pretty productive over the last month and change?
Make him be a rookie. Rookies is cool, man. I just saw Jaden Daniels play very well. People talk about, man, this guy's one of the best rookies to come out in a long time. He had a 3-game skid where he wasn't playing too well. Bo Nix got a decent coordinator, got a nice coordinator out there in Denver. And, Sean Payton's going to call some plays up, dial it up for him. Got a system ready. But, look, he's still a rookie. And here's how you beat people. You have Myles Garrett just be Myles Garrett. Let's not forget that. Let's come on. This is a quarterback who still has to get back, drop back, throw the football, and Myles Garrett is a dude that if he's on his game, it's going to be a problem for him. So I think this game, to be honest with you, I'm just put it out there right now. I got the Browns winning this football game. They traditionally haven't played well in Denver, but it's a rookie quarterback. You out there. I think that Myles Garrett is turning it up a little bit. I think they have confidence that they could get some points. I think the Browns win this football game.
The Broncos, as a team, the Broncos got to be one of the biggest surprises in the league.
Oh, for sure.
Right? I mean, we were killing Sean Payton last year, and he may win Coach of the Year this year.
Oh, that means nothing. You've made that clear.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That's the way to reverse pickpocket him.
No, you're right.
I like that.
You're right, because it goes. These awards are based on unexpected and storyline.
That was sneaky,
not based on
that
reality.
That was a sneaky rebuttal too.
The point is, the Broncos are, and you look at their skill position players; they're not that great. They use 3 running backs. None of them are particularly good. Cortland Sutton's a nice receiver.
He's okay,
but he's not anything special. Look at it. I'm sure most people never heard of the rest of their pass catchers there. I mean, they're a bunch of nobodies.
Is Lil Jordan Humphrey, by the way.
What's that?
His name
Yeah,
is
Lil Jordan. Yeah.
True story. It's a real name.
The rest of their most people are not starting any of their players outside of Nix and Sutton on a fantasy team right now. And Nix has played well, but the one thing that's interesting is, now a lot of this was early in the season, when he's faced a team with a good pass rush that gets to the quarterback a lot, he has struggled. It's not that uncommon, but he's been particularly bad against teams in the top 10 of pressure rate, which the Browns are a top 10 team in terms of pressure rate. Now, again, most of those bad numbers against teams in that situation were early in the season, and he's grown as a player, and he's playing very well right now. But there's been some inconsistency in terms of his completion percentage. But overall, I mean, he's having a magnificent rookie season and should be in contention for Rookie of the Year. Jaden Daniels is the favorite, but Nick should be in the conversation because he's played better and better. And again, he's in a division which is a good division. I mean, the Chiefs have lost 1 game. We know the Chargers are better. Obviously, the Raiders stink, but he's played really well. How you stop him specifically, I don't know. I haven't watched him enough. But if you can pressure him as a rookie, he's more likely to make mistakes.
Sean Payton's done a really nice job this year.
Yes, he has.
I've said for years, I don't believe he's a good coach. I believe he bailed as soon as Drew Brees retired. He's like, okay, I'm out. Yep. He's done a really nice job. And Bull, I think you did a good job of summarizing that they don't have a lot of name players.
No.
And this is probably one of his better coaching jobs. And I know he won Super Bowls with the Saints, but he also had a Hall of Fame quarterback that he doesn't have now. I am not as high on the Browns tonight as G is. I think they're going to struggle in the Mile High City. They usually do. And because Nix is at home and because he's been playing well and because he's got the comfort and surroundings of home, and this is not a Browns secondary that has created a lot of turnovers. We know that. So I don't think this is the night that he's going to suddenly throw 3 picks. I do think the Browns can get to him and get some pressure on him, but I don't have this strong feeling that the Browns are going to have a very successful night tonight. I don't know how
I'm with you. I don't see them winning. I think there's a way they can win, but
for sure.
I think that for the most part, I feel pretty confident saying that they're going to bring home a loss. I don't know what his record is. Has he ever, Kevin Stefanski, won a game that he's coached west of the Mississippi? And I was trying to go through them in my head last night, and it's just like these
lost to the Raiders. They lost the Chargers in L.A. They lost the Rams in L.A. They lost
at Seattle,
Denver. When DTR got the concussion, Seattle they lost. San Francisco was here.
I just can't remember a trip to the West that has been successful.
I'm trying to
Maybe
think.
there's been one in his years, but in my
No,
mind,
I think you're right. I can't think of one.
I remember
There's not one
thinking,
coming to mind.
When I saw the game was, you got to go to Vegas, you got to go to Denver. It's like, well, those are historically for Kevin Stefanski, for the Browns in general. The Browns as a team, their record has not been great, having to go west of the Mississippi. But for Stefanski, I cannot remember. There might have been a time. I can't remember a victory that he's brought home from the Mountain or Pacific time zone.
So you're not counting Houston?
No.
Well, no, Houston Tech. So
it's west of the Mississippi, but it's not.
He won a game in Houston
Last year, Deshaun's first game back.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be the only
No,
one.
he won 2 games in Houston. He won when Flacco
and
threw for
Flacco
like
last year,
370 or something stupid, and Amari Cooper had the record-breaking 260 something
Houston
yards.
is the central time zone.
Right.
Correct.
I don't know that he's won when he's gone 2 time zones west.
I'm looking through the
So
schedule
let's make
right
that
now.
the distinction.
He beat Dallas.
That's central
time.
too.
Central.
Okay.
Mountain would be basically the NFC and the AFC.
He hasn't
West.
beaten an AFC West team on the road.
Okay, and I can't
I don't
remember if
think.
he's beaten an NFC West team on the road. I don't think he has.
Didn't they beat Minnesota?
But they're central time zone too.
They did beat Minnesota, but
I'm looking
Central.
through. I don't see it, Jay. I think you might be right.
So for that reason, I don't know what it is. I mean, you'd think that one of these wins, they've been favored in some of these games. You'd think that in one of these games they would have gone out there and played a good game. They've typically not. They've played poorly in the games that are in the West and the Pacific time zone.
And they've tried mixing it up and leaving earlier. And
Last
staying
year they
longer.
did that. They had 2. They had one in L.A. and
They
then one
stayed out there.
in Denver. They
stayed
stayed
in
out
LA
there for the week to
Yeah.
try to get acclimated to the time zone.
Yeah.
I will say that the Denver thing, I remember talking with Ryan Clark about this. You guys remember when he was diagnosed with sickle cell?
Yes.
And the doctor told him, Ryan, you cannot go back to Denver. You can't play there. And he was willing. This is how gladiators are. He said, I'll risk my life to go. He wanted to go. The team had to say, Ryan, you're not going. And I asked other players when we were covering that story, and Ryan was with us at ESPN, but I had asked a lot of other players. Schlereth was a guy that played first in Washington and then in Denver. What is that? Is it real? Oh, it's very real. And Schlereth was the perfect guy to talk to about it because he had played the first part of his career in Washington and then in Denver. It's something that you never really get used to unless you live there. And even then, it's different from playing a game at sea level. And so that's a real thing. If fatigue comes into play, I don't know, maybe that doesn't explain the losses to Seattle and San Francisco and Vegas because they're not a mile high. But there's something weird about going to Denver and playing in Denver. When you go out there 2 days before, you're no way is your body going to be acclimated to that thin air.
I remember, and this is obviously not playing an NFL game. We went to Breckenridge to go skiing for a weekend.
Yeah.
I felt like I had mono.
Yeah, same thing happened to me in Aspen, which is not mile high, but high.
I was knocked on my butt.
It's real.
For like half the trip.
Yeah.
It was bad. I mean, I can't imagine. Now, Breckenridge, I think, is higher than Denver. But I can't imagine trying to play an NFL game in that.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. So we're going to do our headlines coming up. I just don't think. Now, the way they do it is you've got to turn Bo Nix back into a rookie. How do you do that? Pressure.
Yep.
Pressure. From the time he steps on the field,
Yep.
he has to feel Myles Garrett's presence. Myles is the key. If he plays as he did against Pittsburgh, we can beat anybody. But you're going to have to turn Bo Nix into a rookie. If he plays a clean game and doesn't throw a pick, then we have to play the perfect game to beat them. And I don't know that we can. So,
All right, we have our guest. So you guys ready to bring in Zach Stevens at DNVR?
Let's do it.
Perfect. Let's do an ad read. We'll bring in Zach. If you guys want to check out the Cavs this week, they have 2 home games. Check out a Browns game as they end the season in person. You better be using the Game Time app and the Game Time Picks feature to buy your tickets. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on the best seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets on the Game Time Picks feature. You get all-in pricing, a panoramic view from your seat, Game Time's lowest price guarantee, and the single best, most flexible customer service policy in the entire ticketing industry. Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time Picks feature on the Game Time app. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game
It's
time.
Game
By the way, Stefanski 0-5 in the Mountain and Western time zone. So it's only been 5 games.
Yeah, it's not a huge sample size.
And with
Go
that,
ahead, Mike.
we have Zach Stevens from DNVR Sports joining us now to preview tonight's Monday Night Football matchup between the Browns and the Broncos. How you doing today, Zach?
Hey, fellas, thanks for having me on. I'm pumped for game day.
Let's go. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I would be too if I was a Broncos fan. I mean, there's a lot more to be pumped about when you're 7-4 and you're a surprise playoff team right now. What was your opinion on the Broncos heading into the season? Were you expecting them to be a playoff contender?
Yeah, I was expecting them to be pushing for a winning record this year. And, the Broncos, in terms of national perspective, were one of the worst teams in the NFL. Pro Football Focus had them as the worst roster. ESPN had them as the second worst roster. Vegas had their over-under win total at 5.5. They eclipsed that with 6 weeks left to go in the season. And so the Broncos have exceeded all of the national expectations. But internally, Sean Payton said this is not a rebuild year. What the Broncos are supposed to do is be better than they were last year. And it seems crazy because they have $40 million in dead cap with Russell Wilson's contract this year. So they're without almost a quarter of the salary cap this year. And they're doing what they're doing, but it's because of Bo Nix and Sean Payton. And that dynamic has been incredible. I mean, so many people thought Bo Nix was the 2nd or 3rd round pick in the draft. Broncos obviously used the 12th overall pick, the 6th quarterback taken in the draft, using a top 15 pick on that. And those two guys together, it's been exactly what Sean Payton has wanted. After the season, Sean Payton was asked, what's the one thing that needs to improve for the Broncos offense to improve? And he said, take fewer sacks. And he put all the sacks on Russell Wilson for last year. Russell Wilson, of course, is a guy that can make plays, but also he gets sacked all the time. And Bo Nix is a guy that just does not take sacks. He is the perfect quarterback for a Sean Payton system. And we've really seen that come together really after week 2. Bo Nix struggled the first 2 weeks of the season, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Since then, he's been arguably a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
What is it about him? It's got to be more than just not taking sacks. Why is he such a good fit for what Sean wants?
He processes incredibly fast. In fact, they say sometimes they have to tell him to slow down because he moves on from his first and second read too quick. And that's something that you have to have. That's a trait that Drew Brees had, just an incredibly fast processor. And then he's also accurate. And you put those two things together. And then what surprised the Broncos about Bo Nix has actually been his running ability. Now, you look about over the past month, Bo Nix has about 30 total rushing yards over the past month. But before that, he was really using his legs to his advantage. And so that's something that defense cannot sleep on. While he hasn't been running the ball a lot over the past month, he is very capable of that. So it's key for the Browns to keep Bo in the pocket and make him a pocket passer where he can still have success there. But if you make him two-dimensional, it's going to be so difficult to stop him.
Yeah, go ahead, Bo.
Now, I was just going to say, it's funny. You look at the Broncos skill position guys, and it's not much to write home over. Obviously, Cortland Sutton's having a fine season. He's been solid, but nobody else in the passing game has stood out. Their running game seems to be a bit of a mess from an outside perspective. Javonte Williams is a rookie. Looked like he was going to be a legit, big-time running back, and he's just, since that injury, he's just been nothing. So how has he done it with skill position players that don't appear to be that good?
No, you're right. And the skill position players were underwhelming going into the season. The Broncos obviously traded Jerry Jeudy to the Browns, which, Jerry Jeudy was the second best receiver the Broncos had, and they did not do a good job going out and replacing him in terms of talent-wise. It's been Court and the kids as we've been saying. I mean, Devon Vele, the Broncos' second leading receiver on the team. Guys, he's a 7th-round rookie this year. He's 26 years old, and he's the second leading receiver on the Broncos. Troy Franklin, they used a 4th-round pick on him. He's had flashes, but hasn't done much. Marvin Mims was supposed to really take that step up in Jerry Jeudy's place. He's just been a kick and a punt returner for the Broncos. You're talking about guys like Adam Troutman at tight end, Lucas Kroll at tight end, Nate Adkins. I mean, these are names that Broncos fans don't even really know. And Bo is doing it, and that's what makes it so impressive. Now, I will say Courtland Sutton has really stepped up over the past 5 weeks. He leads the NFL in receiving over the past 5 weeks. So Denzel Ward, that is going to be a tough matchup for him, but Ward's obviously a very good player as well. But Court has been, like I said, leads the NFL in receiving almost 100 yards per game over the last 5 weeks. And that's what his chemistry with Bo has been incredible. Last week, Courtland Sutton didn't do anything in the first half. And in the third quarter, Courtland goes out and goes for 80 yards and a touchdown in the third quarter alone. So that's the key to really trying to stop the Broncos offense is you got to slow down Courtland Sutton. If you do that, then you're forcing guys like 7th-round rookies, 4th-round rookies to make plays and beat you.
Zach, it's just the way it's worked out. I've seen him play 3 or 4 times, and he's looked really good each time I've seen him. I'm wondering from you, in the games that they've struggled and he hasn't looked good, is there a common denominator? Is there something that has been his sort of kryptonite this year? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, you got to get to him, and you got to bring him down. And that's something that Bo has really done a good job developing over the course of the season. Like I said, those first couple of games, he did struggle, and pressure was getting to him. And when pressure was getting to him, he was making bad decisions. Since those first couple of weeks, that poor decisions have not really been there. And last week, the Broncos went up against Max Crosby. And Max Crosby is a great player, but Max Crosby is an even better player when he plays against the Broncos. Going into last week, he had a 10-game sack streak against the Broncos, which is just insane. And Bo Nix broke that sack streak really by having great pocket presence. So I think a key to this game, probably as it is for every Browns game that you guys are in, is containing Myles Garrett for the Broncos. We saw what Myles Garrett did last week. 3 sacks in the first half was just insane. If Bo is able to neutralize Myles Garrett, keep him to 1 sack, then he should be okay here. But if Myles Garrett is able to get to Bo, that is the key to rattling him, because for a couple of months now, we really haven't seen Bo Nix be rattled. So that's the key, Myles Garrett. And the Broncos, statistically, according to a lot of stats, have the best pass-protecting offensive line. So that's going to be a great battle tonight.
Listen, Zach, do you guys care anything about Jameis Winston? I mean, is he just a nice little story here, or do they actually think that he's going to do anything, or are you just like, that's Jameis, we expected him to come out and give us 2 or 3 turnovers and we'll get this win?
Well, I think that's the thing about Jameis, and you guys know it better than anyone. Jameis is either going to go out there and throw 3 picks or throw 3 touchdowns, and so you always have to be concerned when you're playing Jameis Winston, and no one knows that better than Sean Payton. And I think Sean Payton really likes Jameis Winston as a person. I think the inconsistency that you get with Jameis absolutely drove Sean Payton nuts. So I don't think he was ever going to be a Bronco after he and Sean departed from New Orleans. But you can't sleep on Jameis Winston, because he is a guy that can go out there, and Kevin Stefanski's turned the keys over to him and said, hey, you're going to win us these games or lose us these games. It all rides on you. 300 passing yards per game pretty much, and we've seen him go off, beat good teams. So the Broncos can't sleep on Jameis here, and it's going to be about creating those turnovers instead of letting him have touchdowns. And man, I think everyone in the country just loves Jameis's personality, except Broncos country just on today. But the Broncos can't sleep on him. And this is a team where I think the Broncos are looking at them as a 2-2 team under Jameis Winston, not a 3-8 team, because obviously, I mean, beat the Steelers, beat the Ravens. This is a team that can compete with anyone.
Let's talk about the Broncos defense, Zach. Obviously, we know about the secondary, but I want to start on the defensive line, because kind of under the radar, like their offense, their defensive line is leading the league in sacks, again, without a ton of sexy names, but they have the most sacks, and they've even played 1 less game than a lot of teams at this point. It's been pretty impressive. Give us a little breakdown of that group, if you will.
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, some people are calling this defense the anonymous crush, and it's a play on the Orange Crush, the defense that was great back in the 70s. And you're right. I mean, a lot of people, Pat Surtain's name. He's well known around the league. Outside of that, there's guys that a lot of people don't know. Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, Nick Bonito has the second most sacks in the NFL. He's really come into his own over these past 10 games or so, and he has been unstoppable, really. He has an incredible get-off on the line, so you're going to have to pay attention to him. And then there's a guy in the middle who is playing at an all-pro level. His name is Zach Allen, and he is, I think, number one in pressure rate for interior defensive linemen. He's number one in run-stop rate among defensive linemen. He has been incredible. He is a guy that can destroy games. And then the Broncos just have great complementary pieces. It's a credit to the front office for bringing guys in on really affordable deals. Malcolm Roach, he's one of the best run stuffers in the NFL. DJ Jones is also really good. And then you have guys like Jonathan Cooper as well. So this front seven, there's no sexy names like you said, but all of these guys can play. And I would say that the guy to really keep your eye on is those two, 99 Zach Allen in the middle, and then Nick Bonito wearing number 15 coming off the edge. He's trying to lead the league the league in sacks this year, so keep an eye on him.
I never heard of either of those guys before 2 days ago.
Yeah, no, I think he's making his names up. I'm not sure those are real players.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, based on what happened last Thursday here in Cleveland, Browns fans are looking like maybe 4 or 5 inches of snow, another snow globe game. What's the weather? Is there a chance that we get a repeat of the Pittsburgh and Cleveland game from last Thursday?
I wish. I'd love if it was like Buffalo last night here with a couple of feet of snow, but no, we're looking at 50s and sun. Game time, it'll probably be about 40 degrees. So, I mean, it's going to be great football. Not the football weather I'd want, because I'd want the snow, but no, we're going to be all clear tonight.
You'd mentioned that this seems to be the perfect fit for Sean Payton as a coach, and there are similarities. Like when you look at the two quarterbacks, obviously Drew Brees and where he had the most success. I had been saying for a number of years, I think Sean Payton needs to get his genius credentials renewed, particularly when he had Russell and didn't turn it went sideways fast. It probably is better for Sean that he has a moldable rookie that he can build into the quarterback that he wants. What has that relationship been like between Bo and Sean? Because it seems like it's very playful, but it also seems like at times Sean's not afraid to take shots at Bo, which I kind of like.
Yeah, and then flip it around, and Bo's not afraid to take shots
at
Sean as well. And this whole dynamic really played out within the past 12 months. There was a moment on national TV last year when the Broncos played the Lions, and Sean Payton tore into Russell Wilson on the sideline. The moment went viral. Russell said nothing back to Sean Payton. Well, this year we had a very similar encounter with Sean going at Bo, and Bo went right back at Sean. And I got to say, sometimes it might not be good to yell at your boss. That's what Sean Payton wants, though. He wants that fire with Bo. He wants that respect between the two. And so that was just a little microcosm of what the difference between Russ and Sean and Bo and Sean. And last year, guys, Sean Payton took over as head coach in January. He didn't say a complimentary thing about Russ until training camp. We're talking 8 months. He didn't say a good thing about Russ until then. The moment the Broncos draft Bo, he's going crazy for Bo. So you just knew right away there was a big difference. But you're 100% right saying that you maybe take that genius card away from Sean Payton. I think he's earned that this year, but he gambled his entire ego on Russ, moving on from him, that dead cap. And then, again, really risky. A lot of people thought Bo Nix was not a very good prospect coming out, and he's put it all on the line. And Bo Nix right now, guys, is almost tied with Jaden Daniels to be the Rookie of the Year. Jaden Daniels had a great game yesterday, so Bo's got to have another good one tonight to keep up with him. But it really has been incredible, the job that Sean has done. He should be up there for Coach of the Year this year, in my opinion.
Why didn't Sean like Russ? I'm just curious. I mean, Russ is having a great
We don't
year
have time to list all the reasons, I don't think.
But it is odd that you would take that job and then your first priority is to run out the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and that was a clear thing that when he took the job, he was not tied to Russell Wilson. I don't think he would have took the job if the ownership would have said, no, you're tied to Russell Wilson. And what they got along fine as a working relationship, but not great. But when it came to on the field, the sacks drove Sean Payton crazy, and the unpredictability drove Sean Payton nuts. Look, Russell Wilson last year led the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks, but Sean didn't like that because it meant that the first 3 quarters, he had no idea what he was going to get until the fourth quarter. Some coaches are able to adjust and adapt to that and like it. Mike Tomlin, perfect fit for Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin just wants to keep the game close and then let Russ go and win it in the fourth quarter. Sean doesn't want that. Sean wants to know that in the first quarter, I'm getting the exact same guy as I am in the fourth quarter, and that's what he gets with Bo Nix here. So that's what was fascinating about it, was you're willing to take on $80 million of dead cap over the next 2 years because you really don't like this guy so much, and you really just don't mesh with him that well.
In fairness, Russell Wilson had, I know the Bengals defense is the worst in the league, but Russell Wilson played great yesterday. Last thing, Zach, I don't know how we saved this for the end, but this is the big Jerry Jeudy revenge game. We got to get into that.
Yes.
Will Patrick Surtain be on Jerry Jeudy because he is their number 1 receiver? And to be fair to Jerry Jeudy, he's played really well the last month with Jameis. It's been one of the best stretches of his career. As you know, the guy's been up and down his whole career, probably a little more down than up. The same thing here, but the last month he's playing well. So does anybody in Denver care about Jerry Jeudy? And will Surtain be on him the whole night?
Yeah, so one of the things, this is Pat's 4th year in the NFL right now, and he has occasionally followed number 1s, but he is doing it more this year than ever, and especially with a pretty big drop-off after Jerry on the Browns, I expect Pat to pretty much follow him the entire game, and I think that's really bad news for Jerry Jeudy. Pat Surtain has held number 1 receivers this year to 2 catches for 12 yards an entire game, so and he's gone up against teams number 1. So I expect Pat to follow Jerry, and not only have they practiced against each other for years with the Broncos, this goes back to Alabama when they were both at Bama. So what a fun matchup. They both know each other really well. Like you said, Jerry has a great connection with Jameis, but Pat Surtain, in my opinion, is the best cornerback in the NFL. He's been making plays. I would expect him to potentially pick off Jameis Winston today if he tries to target Jerry too many times. So I expect this to be a really fun storyline throughout the game, especially with some words that Jerry has said going into this game. And then I know Pat is looking forward to going up against it.
Yeah, those are bulletin board quotes for sure. A lot of great storylines in this game. We're looking forward to it. So, Zach, before we let you go, we do something every week before the Browns games. We call it pre-written headlines. We make the prediction of the game in the form of a newspaper headline. So while I'm pontificating, I'll give you 10 seconds or so to think about your clever headline in the form of your prediction. What would your headline be, and who's your winner?
Man, that's a great question. Something like, let's flip that Jerry Jeudy quote around on him. Something like Pat Surtain whips Jerry Judy's behind in this game, and the Broncos shut down the Browns. This should be a game where, again, I am a little worried about the Browns winning this game from a Broncos perspective because Jameis could go off for 3 touchdowns. I think with this defense, though, they're going to have a lot of success. They're going to get after Jameis, have him make some poor decisions, and I'm looking at 2 interceptions from Jameis today, and the Broncos kind of run away with this one heading into their bye week.
All right, very good. Zach, thanks for joining us. Great insight. We appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed being on.
Yeah, he dove right in, man. He took to that like a fish to water.
Good job.
Hey, man, now that
Could be a big Elijah Moore game tonight.
Now that we put the freaking Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, good job. I mean, the 7-5 Bo Nix Super Bowl
7-4.
7-4.
7-4.
I don't know where he said anything that wasn't factually correct.
I mean, y'all act like this was Steve Young. Bo Nix. 16 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think they'll lose in the first round of the playoffs. But
one of the best teams, one of the best rookies.
What I take from it is 11 touchdowns, 1 pick in his last game.
He has played well, G. What do you want me to say?
Sean Payton is a guru. He's just coach of the year. I'm like, bro, Russell Wilson is balling. Well, so much for that one.
I don't know about Russell Wilson balling, but he was yesterday.
But Bo Nix is balling. And who got the better record? The Steelers or the Bo Nix-led world champions?
But the Steelers game was home.
Steelers have way more talent than the Broncos.
And guess what? The Cleveland Browns smoked the Steelers the last time. Let's go. We're not dealing with this.
I feel Kool-Aid bubbling up.
This is not Denver Broncos radio. This is the Cleveland Browns radio.
We need some orange Kool-Aid on the set.
Television, we everywhere.
Gee,
Let's get it going.
If you want to drink orange Kool-Aid this holiday season, and you want to bring orange Kool-Aid to the gym, there's no better product than the Ice Shaker to make that dream a reality. If your holiday shopping list is still far from complete, then the Ice Shaker is the perfect gift because now it's officially licensed with NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and Major League Baseball teams, making it the perfect gift for any sports fan in your life. It is created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers. It's sold over 1 million bottles. Ice Shaker changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. If you go to iceshaker.com right now and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout, you can save 25% on your first order. They have a patented twist-in agitator that breaks up powders but is silent when you shake it instead of that annoying ball sound you typically get. It also works as a strainer and makes for a very solid tailgating cup for mixed drinks as well. You can order your team-branded bottle today at iceshaker.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shaker, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market, and that is the Ice Shaker. Bull, pre-written headlines.
Yes.
You're first.
I'm up. Here we go. I know G doesn't think the Broncos are going to the Super Bowl, but I do. The Broncos, no, they're not that good, but they're better than the Browns. Browns next. Rookie throws for 325 and 3 touchdowns to outduel Jameis, 27-24. Everybody thinks it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm going the opposite. High-scoring game. Jameis plays well, but gets outdueled by Nix.
Oh, if the Browns score 24 points, that might be worth a parade.
We've had enough parades in this town for losing there.
G, you're up next. G, what's your headline today?
Hold on, give me 1 second. You guys switch to somebody else.
All right, Jason, you can go then.
He's rethinking it.
I'm looking. Hold on.
I love G's passion, but I don't share it. I'm on Adam's side on this one. Stampede. Oh. Browns get run over by Nix and Broncos offense, 27-17 loss.
Yeah, I think I should go because then you'll be the voice of dissent.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you guys. I have the Browns nixed into thin air, and they lose this one 21-13. I struggled, Bull. There's a part of me that said this could be a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
But only one side. The Denver's defense has all the advantages. He really talked about the Surtain locking down our number one. I know they don't have anybody after their number one either. So I think whoever wins the matchup of elite corner versus elite wide receiver is going to win the game. So can Denzel shut down Sutton more than Surtain is going to shut down our number one? And
as much as I like Denzel, Surtain's better than Denzel.
I think he is.
And Cortland's better than Judy.
I agree. Yeah. So I just see there's too many areas in these small matchups within the game where I think Denver has the advantage, and that whole mile high thing, that jinx is real, and I think G's gonna break the spell of.
Here we go. Let's do it.
The reason I had to postpone that, this breaking news is brought to you by the Cincinnati Bengals terrible record. You're 4-8, buddy. I just needed to pull that up and remind everybody, misery loves company. When we get this win, we will be tied in the basement.
That's true.
Let's go.
I want the Bengals to lose every game the rest of the year.
It's not a bad strategy.
Hey, listen, come on, man. Listen, this is Jameis Winston. You know what I mean? Y'all been trying to downplay my guy. He been praying. He been fasting. He been reading his Bible. He been
fasting. He's fasting.
He doing snow angels.
He been baptizing the boys and girls. He been hanging out, giving food away at the local mission groups. And this time he gonna drop these turkeys off, these holiday hams, right on the table of the Denver Broncos. Winston tames the Broncos. 28-17 makes Browns fans thankful for famous Jameis.
All right, let's see what happens. One thing that I think we should point out.
Go,
oh yeah, go ahead.
Before I give you guys my headline,
he tried to dismiss me so much. He got rid of yours too.
He might be picking Cleveland.
All right, that's great. Let's go right on to it. Welcome to Channel 3.
Before I go, I want to say that somehow this year I don't have every tracked record. I think I'm like 1 in whatever pick.
Every
Browns.
track?
I've gotten almost every pick wrong.
Wow, no kidding.
So take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Steve, let's see it.
Browns
playoffs hopes get injection of Bozempic. Nick Schultz in prime time. Browns win, and the gap to the 7 seed is looking awfully skinny right now.
You know what's funny?
So
Last
I'm picking
night,
the Browns. That may not be a good thing.
I like the Bozempic. Last night on Sunday Night Football, when they showed the AFC playoff race, they listed the 4-8 Bengals as in the race.
Are we in the hunt?
Browns win tonight. They're in the hunt.
Technically, they are. So
they're not. But
I know mathematically
Yeah.
they are.
Well,
like they're in the
mathematically,
race.
yeah,
and,
sure.
And if Cleveland wins to go to 4-8, mathematically you'd have to put them in the race too. It's
You're
not
in the
gonna
hunt
happen,
without a
but-
gun.
No, I get it. One thing that when we were talking to Zach that kind of hit me.
yeah.
Denver was in this ugly space of we're going to eat
I know
$40
exactly
million
what you're saying.
in dead cap,
Yeah.
and we don't have a quarterback. But they made the tough decision to move the hell on from him. They don't pick until 12. They get the 6th quarterback in the draft, and I think Bo Nix was more like a second round. He was most of the experts said he's going to go in the 2nd round.
He was the 6th quarterback taken.
6th quarterback taken, and it was the 12th player overall. So I only bring that up to say this. As bad as that situation looked, the Browns are in double hell compared to that. They have $85 million next year
If they move on from
If they
him.
cut
if they have to move on from him. But I bring it all up to say this. They did not expect Bo Nix to rise from where he was to be this guy. When you've got the right guy at quarterback and you have the right quarterback that fits what he wants to do, this is what can happen. And Kevin Stefanski, in my view, has never had his kind of guy at quarterback. I don't think he has. He was handcuffed with Baker. They moved on. He's had Flacco. He's had Jameis. He's
Jacoby
had
Brissett.
Deshaun Watson. He's had all these guys. What would happen if the chief strategy officer gets fired and they come to Kevin Stefanski and say, Kevin, your prototypical quarterback, go into the lab, put him together. Who is he? And is there a guy that we can find in this draft that we can put with you to get the results that we're getting with Sean and Bo in Denver?
Bo Nix, 8th-year senior at Oregon, Auburn.
Yeah, I don't think. We
If
don't know
Bo
the
Nix
full-
was in Cleveland, you'd love him.
The full,
You'd be lapping him up.
To be fair, she's a little over the top, in my opinion. But to be fair, the full story hasn't been written on Bo Nix.
Right.
Of course it does.
He has,
But
we don't know how good he is yet.
Exactly.
But he's playing well.
precincts are reporting that
Yeah.
this is
Imagine
a
what this
win.
man would be saying about Bo Nix if he was
Oh
putting up
my
these
God.
numbers in Cleveland.
He got a
Hey, I got him for 6th out.
He got-
I got him for 6th out.
I like Birdie told me G was clamoring for Will Howard on the radio this weekend. before
No,
the
that was
game,
facetious. But you got to catch the whole script. You didn't catch the whole scheme.
I just heard Lil Birdie told me.
I had a lot
You know
of
what I'm
people
saying?
ask me this week, hey, why aren't we hearing about Will
I
Howard?
told you.
Yeah,
I told you.
You know what I said to all of them? I was cutting and pasting the response. I got so many.
You know actually who I
See
do
the
like?
last 2 minutes of the game against
You see what I
Oregon.
told you? Listen, they like Will Howard. They love him.
We got a little special surprise to end the show.
Mm.
None of y'all know about this. Let me do a read and we will get to it. But how do you guys stay warm during the winter months? For some, they wrap themselves up in a blanket with a hot mug of hot cocoa. Or they watch a movie with family. That's the best way to spend their month of December. Therapy is also a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime at no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. So I got a surprise for you guys. Do you remember a couple months ago we got a song sent in to us by a viewer about missing Joe Flacco and Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
I remember that.
No,
That's our guy Bill. Now,
Did he write a Jameis song?
Bill wrote a UCSS song, and it has all of us in it. And Bill crushed it. If you like what you hear and you're interested, Bill has some free time. We're going to put his email address on the little banner on the bottom of the screen, so if you want to reach out to him, he may be able to help you with your
Excited about
song
this.
request. But our good friend Bill Dunford wrote us a song about the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and we're going to debut it right now. So, Steve, whenever you're ready, let's hear William Dunford, a.k.a. Bill's rendition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He wrote and recorded this all original. Shout out to Bill. It's pretty damn good. Let's take a listen.
Jay Crawford's here, 60's coming, no doubt. From the mound to the mic, he'll always stand out. Debates that fire sparks where legends would vie. Between Steven and Skip, he's the reason why. G. Bush, the Duke of Knee-Jerk, quick to proclaim, leading the Kool-Aid Mafia, staking his claim. With bold takes flowing, he'll light up the room. When the heat is on, he's the voice of the boom. The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show takes the stage, fueling the fire. The bull rides high, but the hot seat's near when his Bengals or Cubs drop a game this year. He's Browns and Guardians when the stakes run deep, coaching Little League dreams where the future leaps. Tyvis Powell sealed the deal in 2014's fight. Buckeye glory shining under championship lights. The best at everything, just ask and he'll say. Confidence like Tyvis keeps the doubters away. Jason's pen at The Athletic, his words cut clean. With a wit so sharp, he owns the scene. Dead inside, he jokes but don't be fooled. Jason ignites the page where legends are schooled. Dustin Fox is here, but his name holds weight. A Buckeye champ from 2002's fate. From the gridiron's glory to the crew's tight bond, Dustin's voice keeps the show rolling strong. Mikey McNuggets, the glue of the team. A Jersey boy chasing Cleveland's dream. From Texas to Ohio, now Cleveland's his pride. Joe Thomas named him and the nickname's tied. Anthony Antonelli, they call him Canto Spelly. Broncos fan at heart, his loyalty runs steady. With orange and blue, he cheers through the fray, but Cleveland keeps calling him back every day. Earl's a true Clevelander, born and raised in love with Martin Emerson Jr.'s plays. From the city's grit to the Browns he defends, Earl's Cleveland heart beats loud to the end.
That it?
No, we got Steve.
Director Steve's the wild card out of retirement. Knows no sports, but his directing's refinement. He's sparring with Tyvis in a feud that won't quit. The master of chaos, where legends all sit. Steve Becker is the man with the plan, guiding the show with a masterful hand. A big deal for sure, where success will grow. He's the backbone of Cleveland's top sports show.
This is awesome. He's a hell of a musician. Yeah. This is good music.
Dude,
That was phenomenal.
that was awesome. I think we got a new show open, man. That is awesome.
I mean, that is unbelievable.
So you guys need to go into the lab and cover it with video. And we've got, we've got a thing that we can play all the time. Like, I don't know if it's a show open, it's a little long.
Yeah, you have to cut it down.
It's 3.5 minutes.
You'd have to cut it down.
I think that we need
That was
to cover it
phenomenal.
with video and post it on the website.
He could easily do a show open.
This guy's really,
Bill.
really good.
Bill is
Where is Bill? Do we know?
He's told me. Hold on, I can figure it out.
Bill, you're the man, dude. That was
Talented.
fantastic.
Very talented. First of all, we need to have him in on a slow day.
In the summer.
And we need to just talk to him about his inspiration. Like, this guy watches everything. He knows about the feud between Steve and Tyvis.
Right.
He knows Jason's dead inside. He knows that you're Duke and the Kool-Aid
Yeah.
Mafia. And
My Little League stuff.
yeah.
No, you gonna skip over the Cubs
And the Cubs and Bengals, which was
no
fun.
doubt.
That was hilarious.
really
You gonna skip
funny.
over that?
I mean, it was so good. And
Well, I think he missed was puking in the garbage can.
Yeah, he did miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that was phenomenal.
that-
That was 100 out of 100.
I assume he's got something to do with the music industry because that
Yeah,
was
he's
Wow,
gotta be.
what
He
a
was
talented
in-
guy.
He was in a band for a while. He toured. Now he's just enjoying retirement and still likes to make and produce music.
So he's a retired. He doesn't sound like he's old
Dude, he
enough
should
to
be writing
retired.
songs. Like Howard Stern has guys that write songs and send them to him, and they blow up.
Yeah.
He should do something for that. I mean, maybe he has. I
Really
don't know,
good.
but
Really, really good.
that was fantastic.
And I think it really captures the vibe of Cleveland with the guitar and the rock.
Oh yeah, I
Like-
loved the beat. I thought it was awesome.
Shout out to Creed, man.
Creed.
Shout out to Creed.
I like Creed.
Shout out to Daughtry. You know what I'm saying?
Daughtry, American Idol fame.
Yeah. No, they just do their thing. Nickelback.
I like Nickelback. Well, I don't know why everybody's got to hate Nickelback.
Nickelback gets a lot of hate.
Oh my God.
Geez, just naming all the white bands he knows.
Blink-182. Shout
There's
out
a
to
lot of white bands.
Five.
Seriously, that was
Shout out to
that
Evanescence.
was awesome.
Where they at, man?
Great job by Bill. I can't say enough how fantastic.
I'm alive.
we got 3 super chats, and then we'll wrap up today's show. Chris Fox says,
What does the fox say? Go ahead.
the crack being smoked, AC and Brad would be prime.
What?
He's
I think he's referring to you saying the broadcast is better with Brad. I think he's saying.
Oh,
AC
come
and
on.
Brad
That's
together.
100% true.
It's
Let's
not
stop.
even. It's,
I mean, come on.
Look, if you're listening and you're
Smallville.
objective,
Again, I'm keep getting hit up by the Black Caucus is hitting me up. They just text me, G. Bush, you better stop playing around.
what would you say?
I didn't answer. Write the voicemail.
No, I mean, what elicited that?
Oh, listen, there is no slander of Austin Carr ever.
Well,
Brett
Brad's black
Darty's
too.
black too.
Listen, the OGs.
Oh, because he's from North Carolina and he likes NASCAR. He doesn't count.
The OGs. Now he's in the camp too, but as you see, the caucus members said them together. There would not be any divide and conquer.
I'm here to give opinions. My opinion is broadcast is better with Darty.
Listen, Austin is great. If you're a longtime Cavs fan,
Yeah.
you have an affinity for him.
'Cause
I
he's-
remember him as a player very, very well.
Yes.
And
He loves the
always
Cavs. He
loved
loves
Austin
Cleveland.
Carr. From a broadcast perspective,
Yeah.
Brad's
an analyst.
Brad brings more to the table.
Austin is a cheerleader, which is cool, and
that's
people
what
love
a lot
that.
of local teams
Right.
want.
Right.
Brad is now. Brad can be that too. In fairness,
Sure, but he's an analyst.
yeah. But Brad is going to analyze much more what's going on, and
That's what I prefer in a
and
broadcast.
I do too.
but,
I mean,
yeah.
it's you know what? It's like telling someone that your favorite food can't be sloppy joes. Yeah, hell, if you like sloppy joes, that's your favorite food.
kinda-
It's not my favorite food. I love sloppy joes.
I kind of low key love sloppy.
I
joes.
love. You know what? Here's
Sloppy
a tip.
Joe's slap.
Take barbecued potato chips.
Yeah.
Take the top bun off and put like 6 barbecued potato chips on
Yeah.
the sloppy joe. Bun.
I'm
and
down
eat.
for that. By the way,
great.
This may sound like a funny question to you guys, Mike. What's a sloppy Joe?
You mean like the food?
What's a sloppy Joe?
No,
It's barbecue like ground beef on a sandwich.
Okay, because in parts of New Jersey, a sloppy Joe is something else. So I thought maybe you.
nah.
Boy,
What
you
is
trying
it?
to-
I don't know
you talking
that.
Food?
And food and
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
No, in food.
Oh, in food.
and
It's a different type of sandwich with like coleslaw on it and stuff.
hood-
Oh,
Ew,
no.
and hood vernacular, they used to call sloppy Joe something else. We're not getting into that.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
I thought you was
that's
going
the
there.
path I thought.
No, I
Bo was
wasn't
going
getting
down.
down
I did too. I did
I was
too.
obliged to say,
yeah,
huh?
wow, we can't go there.
Wow, we're
Say that for over.
Dude, I used to when I would go to like school lunch, I'd get the sloppy Joe, man.
You get sloppy joes at the elementary school lunch bowl?
You're making it something inappropriate, Mike,
Crazy.
You know,
and that's wrong.
You took it to the gutter.
I don't know what that means.
That's what I thought he was getting at.
I was not getting at that. I know that sloppy. Some people.
Joe, Bull. What he's saying is, no one served the sloppy joes
Oh,
like the
my
lunch
God.
lady.
That's right. The lunch
That's
ladies.
exactly what he
Oh,
They were
Lord.
on point. I was
Oh,
on.
Lord.
I was on detention for 3 years in junior high school, and so I was always the last one to eat. They'd bring out the sloppy
Is
joes.
that true?
Not for 3 years, but for much of 3 years.
They would make you be the last one.
You'd
to
be
eat?
last.
Oh, that's abuse.
I know, because we played this game in lunch. You know how I don't know if you
You're
guys
making
had
it
this.
so much worse, Bo, but don't stop. Don't stop.
So in my cafeteria in junior high, which is middle school, it was the long white benches for
Yeah,
the
we had
tables,
those.
right? You had
Yeah,
that?
we had those.
And we would play a game, and I was very good at this game. Not surprising, you'll know in a minute. Where you'd have to sit next to somebody, and you used your body. You couldn't use your hands. You had to push somebody off the edge of the table.
Oh, wow.
You could just use your body, no
I
hands.
can see you being very
So
good
I
at
was champion level at this.
that. Leverage.
Short, squatty, and I would take on 2, 3 people. This is just getting worse because of whatever the hell sloppy Joe means. Anyway, that's why I spent much of
got to go.
junior high on
Hey, do we have any?
detention.
We have 2 more
watch this.
super chats.
Do we have any super chats?
Yeah, Kevin Miller sent us $2 and just laughed. He just is laughing from this.
$2.
Shout out to
$2.
Kevin.
Shout out to you, bro.
Smallville says
Yeah.
the Bucks took out Jameis and put in Brady, Brown, Fournette, Gronkowski, Suckup, and Worf. So please stop the BS with all that Tampa did was
What?
just changing the quarterback.
What?
He named all the players that they added.
Who did they add? Go ahead.
Gronk, Ryan Suckup.
He said
Oh yeah, the kicker.
Brady,
Yeah.
Brown, Fournette, Gronk, Suckup, and Worf.
Okay, now, in all honesty,
Brown, who's
those
Brown?
those are fine players. Every single year, there is a transition.
Of course.
6
You
to
can
12
put all
names
those
on a
players
roster.
with Jameis, and that team's not winning a Super Bowl.
You can leave all those players on that team and,
Yeah.
and keep Jameis. They're not going to win a Super Bowl. One player added to the mix made the difference. If you want to give Worf and Suckup and Gronk all that
Are
credit,
they talking about Antonio Brown?
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's what they're referring to.
Yeah,
Did he get cut in the middle of the season?
He was
He
quite
got
the
himself in
addition.
the middle of the season.
I think he
Well,
tried to. He hit on the quarterback's wife.
And isn't,
That's
I mean,
wild.
Gronk at that point, I mean, he was okay, but he wasn't like,
Yeah, he was okay. He wasn't Gronk.
he wasn't a superstar
Yeah,
anymore.
He was fine. He was a nice piece. He was a
And
safety
suck
blanket.
up the kicker.
Yeah, come on.
I mean,
I had
All right, next one.
never mind.
Yeah.
Ray Smith says Russ puts up 441 yards. Bull, I don't know if he's balling. LOL. Little sour about those cats. Kool-Aid Mafia in the building. Go Browns. Beat the Broncos.
I just said that Russell Wilson played a great game. What do you mean?
And you
I
said
think he got
I said he
all
wasn't
was against
balling
the
before
Bengals.
that game. He hadn't been playing that well.
Well, the Bengals defense can make
the Bengals defense is the
quarterbacks
worst
look
in the
great.
league.
Bull, their corners and some of the decisions
They're a disgrace.
they make.
I'd
it is.
fire everybody. The
But
GM,
even Lou,
the coach.
like, I thought that their defensive coordinator was a really
he had done
good,
a great job before, but
He was
a disaster
he
now.
was cooking, man.
They haven't drafted well. If you look in recent years, all their high picks on defense have all been busts. Everyone.
and they're paying a lot of attention to the offense. I mean, clearly their offense.
When you have a secondary that can't cover, a pass rush besides one player that can't get there, and linebackers who can't tackle, that's a bad combination.
yeah, it was a hard
Y'all
one to
got
watch
nice.
yesterday.
I like their roster, man. They got Brown. They
You
got
don't like their
Burrow.
roster. You like their roster if you're a
Chase?
Browns fan.
They got Chase.
They got
no,
they
they've
got
got a nice offense.
Higgins.
Yeah.
They've got a
Nice.
really nice
The offense is not the problem.
The offense is not the problem.
The Bengals have lost 4 games in which they've scored 30 or more points this year. I believe, if I'm correct, I'm not 100%
It's
sure.
NFL record.
Every other NFL team this year combined has lost 1 game in that scenario, I think.
Hey, did anybody score more against the Steelers this year? Like, the Steelers' defense is terrific.
No. Now, they still turned the ball over a couple of times. Burrow got picked on a tip,
Yeah,
and
he
he
did.
fumbled, but still.
And
That was crazy.
last super chat, Starboy says, I think that's AI, and refer to the song. I
It
make
could
them all
be.
the time.
It's
So,
possible.
Bill sent us enough songs. I trust Bill.
Dude,
Bill sent
I
more.
trust-
I don't care if it's AI. That's
I trust
phenomenal.
Bill.
Hey, man, listen,
I don't care if it's AI either. Yeah.
In Bill, we trust.
in about 10 years, people will have AI wives.
So,
Be
Have
together.
you guys messed around with AI at all?
No, but I saw this
Oh, my God.
ad for a thing where you could put something in, like an earpiece,
Glasses.
and whatever country in the world you're in, it'll translate for you.
Wow,
So now, like, you go to foreign countries, you
Hey,
don't
we
have to
got
worry about it
Tony
anymore.
Staking his claim with bold
Deuces.
takes flowing, he'll light up the room. When the
we
heat
should
is
play
on,
this
he's the
song
voice
out
of the
every
boom.
single day.
Ultimate Cleveland sports show takes the